helps when I'm not muted here. Let's see if I can do that. That was magical. Alright, I don't want to start out with an untruth tonight. Welcome everybody, hope you're having a great Saturday night. I'm Kane B. I am going to be your rat daddy tonight to each and every single one of you. I promise. I got a confession to make right away. Oh, you know, let's just look at the video. Can you see? There they are. Wait. Yeah, they're protesting over here. There was just a bunch of older folks there, kind of holding signs and keeping it kind of mellow. There was no riot or police action, so yeah, my phone's blowing out. I could probably lower the pitch or whatever, but who cares? Okay, one more time. I drove by them when I was working or driving. So I thought I'd get a little video of how silly it was. They told me they liked my shirt, so I guess they're alright. I guess that's a secret. So yeah, a protest coming soon to a town near you. Today's show brought to you by Cappuccino. I made it myself, you know that? And here we are. It is Saturday. My head is literally broken up into 75 different pieces. And I promised Amy Conway, since she's here, Tony's here. Oh, you guys are cool today, I guess. He likes you, and he's going to do the stair walk out. All right. Twiz watching, and yeah, I don't appreciate being donut up. And Amy Conway tried to donut up me today, and I'm going to keep them in their little cage. We're not going to start the show with a donut. So this is what I got going on. They're in the bag. You can probably smell them if you whip hard enough. They're going to drop. So we got a chocolate. And these are Alessi Bakery. And then I'm going to put some butter on this bun right here. Let me tell you right now. Oh, yeah. So that's happening right now, and a lot of other things kind of happening, but you know, I'm kind of self-indulgent. And if you're new to the perks, please hit that subscribe button for me and for Operation GCD. Over there, Mr. JJ Vance, not the vice president, and that like button is just right. It's just there, and it won't cost you a darn thing. So if you don't mind, give me one of those. I appreciate it while you're here, and thank you for being here. This is Saturday Purge, Emergency Purge. What could it be? Oh, there's so much I can't even begin to tell you. But we're just going to get right into it.
Giving you some. A lot, all day. That's all you've been doing is begging for treats. Because they're in there. Someone left the cupboard open. You can see them all.
They couldn't substantiate a lot of the accusations being made. It was a bit of a relief, but it was also a bit disappointing because you realize that this was more political than it was real, and that this was a false narrative.
You for deny Doubtfire, dear. I specialize in the education and entertainment of 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 entertainment.
I think they're being fed information, and they should be angry at this point too.
All the other doors in the house were open too. The doors where his owner lay slain.
So we have a strong drink that's a toast to the land, like our grandparents before us, with iPhone in hand.
Aubrey Justine Gonsalves.
Shaking. Oh, please don't. No. No, please, no. Oh my God. I think I'm in the middle of it. Oh my God, the trees are snapping everywhere. Oh.
And welcome to another episode of Bad Design. Today, I put myself in the middle. Much better. Don't let AI design your business logo. And if you do, say it with me. Show it to one 13-year-old boy.
United States of America, red, white, and blue. We'll rip your throat out, drink your blood, motherfucker.
Anything like that?
Sir. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I take pictures of people, unless I get permission from somebody to take a picture of them.
I will take a picture of you too.
You got my first Karen.
You too.
Literally walked into my house.
I know I'm walking to your house.
It's amazing.
I know, it is amazing. And we're going to report you. I'm now going to report this to the owner because this is too much. She wants to use all the time.
You're free.
You don't want people to come in and don't write entrance.
Why do you hate this so much?
Because you guys have been doing this all the time.
Hey, you could have just knocked on the door and the door and would have turned it
Oh,
on.
no. We did. You guys didn't hear it. What the fuck?
You say?
I said I'll let you go if you come to the bar right down the street with me. My ex-wife is there. She's a bitch. Hold my hand for 5 minutes. Pretend to be my girlfriend. Let's make that bitch jealous.
Okay.
Yeah, see? It's so easy. Come on, just hold my hand for
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Rocco, go lay down. Say hello.
Morning.
Yeah, I love you.
Can you say no?
All right, can you say your name? Luna. That was perfect.
I love you.
Say, I love you.
Good.
It's all bullcrap the way they sell Florida to the outsiders. Listen to the words, listen to the language. Luxury style carbon copied homes from our artisan collection. Luxury style apartment and townhome. And luxury RV parks. They'll name these things after what was there, like Orange Grove Estates, Starkey Ranch. You folks from out of state really think you're going to come to Florida and live on a ranch? There's 500,000 other suckers out there that bought into that master plan wet piece of property. And for the same price you paid to live in Starkey Ranch, you could have went to another state and bought you an actual ranch and had peace and quiet. And then they'll name the streets Tangerine Terrace, Orange Blossom Avenue. And they'll build all this crap on 2-lane country roads, and they'll go ahead and flood it with new cars and traffic. They'll back up the interstate too, and the ones that approve the deal will go ahead and approve dynamic tolling. Well, that's the kind of thing they made fun of New York for congestion pricing on their roads. We have dynamic tolling in Florida. Sounds a lot better.
The airport here in San Diego has a lactation. The airport here in San Diego has a lactation room, and I didn't know what lactation meant when I went in the first time.
Yo, KB, is that the name you claim? Rolling through genres, let me play this game. Rap like a madman, Eminem with the slang, spitting bars so sharp like a rap hangman. From YouTube fame to Idaho's wild ride, you're breaking it down, putting truths aside. Kane B got the purge, no doubt he's the king, breaking down the case like a YouTube machine. Kane B the purge, bringing heat in the booth. Facts on the table, there's no room for proof. Throwing down lyrics while the world's watching. Is it guilty or free? That's the question we're knocking. Kane B the purge, taking Idaho by storm. He's got the heat and the truth breaking the norm. We're all glued to this case, no one's letting go. Will Brian be guilty or will he be let go? Kane B's in the game, watch him lay it all bare. Will justice find the truth or just disappear in the air? Here's my bubblegum pop, you ready or not? Kane B's in the mix with the case so hot. Rap, rock, pop, he's switching it up. Dancing through the genres like a YouTube cup. Got Kane B, the purge, putting the story in flow. Breaking it down with humor, watch the case blow. Boom, Kane B's riding with electric groove. Breaking it down, yeah, he's on the move. He's got the purge, so come and watch him reign. Sipping on knowledge like it's truth on a train. Kane B the purge, taking Idaho by storm. He's got the heat and the truth breaking the norm. We're all glued to this case, no one's let go. Will Brian be guilty or will he be let go? Kane B's in the game, watch him lay it all bare. Will justice find the truth or just disappear in the air? Now here I am, R&B vibes on deck. Let's get a little smooth, but don't forget, I'm bringing humor, I'm bringing the sound. But this case got us all spinning round. KB with the truth, it's hard to ignore. Like waiting for that next chapter in the lore. It's hard to ignore, like waiting for that next chapter in the lore.
False narrative. False narrative.
All right, I guess they can't all be perfect. I literally, to be honest with you, I finished up that reel 15 minutes before we started. That's why I was a couple minutes late. I was getting everything situated. So I hope you like that. And yeah, that was from 2023 there, Scott Green, explaining how he escaped his fate and created a false narrative. So yeah, we got Amy Conway here today. She's been out donated. And we're going to get right going because we got JJ. Let me make sure that he can get into the yard here when he needs to. I probably need 7 minutes, I'm sure. I got funny JJ news today. I was in Dago's chat, and he was asking some name from whatever crime case they're studying over there today. And he couldn't remember the names. And so, of course, I wrote Schindler's List. And he's like, yeah, haha, Schindler's List. I'm like, it was her maiden name. I'm becoming JJ slowly. He's totally infected my chat hole over here. Angel D, welcome in. Too fast, please. Too fast, too fast. One day away from the medal. Scott Metalhead will hopefully be in with us today here. They live. Lucy Morningstar, hello. And Meg P. Darling. Mama in the house. Let's see, am I forgotten? Drachon, very nice to see you. Tom Campbell, always a pleasure. Tony Stevenson also, username. And Mittens for Kittens. Tanel Ray checking in. And someone who knows to witness ESN1. Yeah, they are giving away donuts actually over there at Krispy Kreme. I was supposed to get a free donut today. That's why I went and picked these up. But the coupon didn't take. It wouldn't work. So I had to pay full price. Oops. So, alright, let's see what we got here. Yeah, JJ, here's the link, sir, just in case. Same one from last time. This is it right here. I'm going to jump on up anytime. That's cool by me. Hopefully the thing's not too loud for you today. It's not quite as hot. I got it nice and cooled down in here today for us, so we'll have a good show. Let me get rid of this. And what did I do? What did I just do? Honestly, bro. Honestly, bro. Okay, allow that, and then we'll say, I have to wait for one thing. Oh, that cappuccino, when you absolutely 100% need to be there, jacked up. Alright, let's see. Get right into the Mews. And I got Mews for days. You're not even, the whole world's gone kabonkos, and I'm not playing. Let's start with this one. Why not? We'll start here. This is the 200. Oh man, now I gotta do it all again. Here we go. Hold on. It's the 250th anniversary of the Army. It's also Flag Day today, so celebrate our country in the way we always do, by barbecuing. That's how we do it. And drink a beer. Have a beer. And let's get this on up there. And so here they had a parade. I thought it was a unique. Now it was also Trump's birthday, and they had a parade of tanks and stuff. I just thought it was an unusual day to be doing a military display at the Capitol, but they did. I believe it was at the Capitol, right? Yeah, Washington, D.C. So they did all kinds of stuff there. That was a good time. Alright. Everything went fine. And now it's time for Mews. Tony's here. Twizzler one. And so this is out. Everybody's heard about it. And let's take a look at what it all means. What could it mean? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day for a neighbor. It's coming out on July 11th. So set your calendars. It's directed by Liz. $1.99. I know the college merch will be available. Blah blah blah. But there was one little thing I'm gonna read here. Yeah, maybe not. So watch that. Have a good time. All kinds of witnesses. We got more of that. I'll get to that in a second. First in food news. KFC in Mountains Dew new creamsicle-inspired dirty soda is basically... I posted this, I know. I wasn't sure how many actually clicked on it. So I thought we'd talk about it. And so it's a new Mountain Dew flavor called Sweet Light. And it's exclusive to KFC. You can just get the soda, but you can also get it with coffee creamer added. KFC and Mountain Dew have launched a new limited time Peaches and Cream Sweet Lightning Soda, a creamy peach flavored twist on the original 2019 KFC exclusive drink inspired by the viral dirty soda trend. So I guess it's called the dirty soda when you put the thing and do the things. Good news. Yeah. What's this doing here? How'd you get in here? No. Alright, hold on. Wait a second, pal. Hold on. Come here. There was more food news. Don't worry, it's coming. Oh, look at that brownie. Yum. Alright. Let's see. Oh, you couldn't see the brownie? No. I'll keep it all to myself. Okay. I wanted to throw this in real quick because it was just something very unusual. The MPD is investigating a report of a fraudulent campaign to raise money for a made-up summer camp. And so these kids were going door to door. And, you know, God bless their ingenuity is on the crooked side. Unfortunately, they were deceiving people. But they were out there doing their side dirty hustle on Constanoga Street, I guess it is. So watch out for that, guys, if you're in Moscow. Hammerhead literally fell out of the sky on disc golfers. No, you're not reading that wrong. A hammerhead shark really fell out of the sky. That really happened. Wait, we'll explain. This all happened in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Some friends were playing around in disc golf at Splinter City last month, and they saw an osprey with some food. Then, the group watched as two crows chased the osprey into some trees. When the osprey then dropped its breakfast, the group went to investigate, and they assumed it was a fish, but the closer they got, they realized it was something more extraordinary. It was a baby hammerhead shark measuring 1 foot long, and there's the poor little guy. I don't know if he made it or not. Doesn't look like it. Okay, teens accused of taking out a homeless man in a tent. Now, this is to teach you a lesson, right? After he asked them to stop shooting in a nearby creek, and here's the guy. What a wonderful person. What a wonderful world. And I keep telling you guys, don't go to New Mexico. If you live in New Mexico, get out. No, I'm sorry. I'm sure it's lovely there. They're on the webs. They're on the webs, Dan. Christopher Sturluson, 23, was taken out as he was sleeping in a tent behind an apartment complex in Albuquerque. Authorities said the man had exchanged with two teens and told them to stop shooting in a nearby creek. His body was discovered in the 4600 block of Carlisle Boulevard. So authorities responded to the incident, found evidence of a shooting in the area the night before using ShotSpotter, an acoustic gunshot detection system. Police determined 10 gunshots had been fired just before 9. Officers from the Albuquerque Police Department responded to the shots fired and spoke to Sturluson, who told police 3 individuals had been shooting at him. Officials said Sturluson had asked them to stop firing. Between 10:15 and 11:50, 6 additional gunshots were fired. Police determined Joshua Curtis, 18, and a 17-year-old who has not been identified were arrested on first-degree and other charges. The 17-year-old has an extensive criminal history that includes pew-pew violence. He's been accused of bringing a firearm to school. The district attorney has decided to charge him as an adult. There you have it. And this happened the other day. Right after the live, I saw this. And I sent it right over to JJ. There will be return characters. And I might have talked about this already, but I wanted to talk about the return characters. Bill Pullman, Rick Moranis, the White Hyundai, Yogurt, out of that chick, Bill Paxton, or Bill Pullman, whatever. There's Moranis. And there is the man. So that should be quite a sequel. Everybody's like, yeah, I know. There's not going to be a John Candy or whatever, so that sucks. But yeah, that's not possible unless they do it in AI, which is possible. Chick-fil-A just launched 2 new sandwiches for a limited time, and I think they just, basically what they did is they just added bacon. So that's exciting. Culver's has 3 new sandwiches, and you can try them for free this week. And I couldn't determine whether or not you had to, with purchase, to celebrate the chain is giving away more than 100,000 free sandwiches for one day only. And they do have a grilled option, you see, and then they have like a barbecue fried deal. They don't use the beef tallow, so I'm going to stay away from the fried. The only place that's actually using really good beef tallow, according to Rockford, is Steak and Shake for their fries. And maybe their fried chicken sandwich. But their fries suck. It's like if you're going to go to the extra length and use the beef tallow instead of the seed oils, which are bad for you, make some crispy cut fry. Make some wedges. You know, I know you want to try those potato wedges, y'all. And here is the Mews of the day. And this is the building there that is right before here. And the witness says bodies were just everywhere. There were 265 people on the plane. Unfortunately, we've all seen the fireball by now, right? And there it is, the fuselage. The strange thing that Lucy pointed out to me was, how is the wing still intact in the wreckage footage? There's like almost a whole intact part of the wing. So there's a lot of mystery to this because, first of all, the wing, and it's a Dreamliner, so I don't know if they, it's basically to replace the 747. It's this huge Airbus, and I don't know if they decided to put the fuel in the fuselage or if it's in the wing. But if you've seen the fireball, and here I'll put the link if you'd like to watch this once again. If the fuel is in the wing and you got a plane just taking off for London, going to be full of fuel, then how is the wing like perfectly intact when it hit the building? And then secondly, when the plane's taking off, it's going 100 miles an hour, this guy survived. So we'll get to that in 1 second. One person out of 265 and 2 on the, or 10 or something on the ground lost their lives. So this is more about the docuseries here, and it's just a teaser. You've probably already seen it by now. I'll put a link for that also in the chat if you'd like to watchy. It's more or less, Emily? And she says that, we were getting a phone call, but we didn't realize it was an emergency, and the whole thing is just, and now I know a lot of creators have analyzed it and said, now this proves that it was a recreation or whatever, or what we've been thinking all along. And it's wild that they actually got them to testify or to get on camera. Hunter Johnson's on there, so it'll be an interesting thing to watch. Now here's the guy who survived. And he says literally that he was near the emergency door and the plane crashed. Everyone around him blew up in a fireball. He walked out of the emergency exit. So I would like to propose what do you call it? The wait, why did you... What happened with Femme Narcotics? She had a smiley face. Thunderclap. She got a happy trigger finger today? I don't know. Anyway, so I propose that it's either a miracle or this guy's like some kind of superhero. He literally has it looks like a cut on his face. And he was in the biggest fireball that I've ever seen for a plane crash. And, yeah. You're going to tell me you just walked away. How is that possible? And apparently he was strapped into his seat. Everything like that. The mystery remains. They're saying that the co-pilot error is suspected in the crash. Here's a shot of the wing that I'm talking about. It doesn't seem to me that it would be that intact after that fireball. It doesn't... I mean, it looks like it's been a crash, but it doesn't look like it was blowed up. So that's some crazy stuff. Suspect opened fire... Okay, hopefully Jenn will be here a little later. She's got some company. Suspect opened fire after being asked to pay rent and unalived an 18-year-old, cops say. Here it is again. Cops say. Now they're strictly using that in the taglines for these things now. I'm sure law enforcement loves it. They call themselves cops now. A manhunt is underway for a man accused of unaliving a teenager during a rent dispute. Harris County Sheriff's Office is searching for 21-year-old Angel Gomez Montanez, who is accused of doing it to Christopher Rodriguez, 18. The shooting happened around 10 p.m. Thursday at an apartment outside Houston. When deputies arrived, they found him living in family homes for 3 months. The only thing we told him is we needed the money for rent, Ortiz said, according to ABC. I told him he can't be happening. I told him this can't be happening. We have to pay bills. That's Montanez right there, and he's the unaliver, the perpetrator. Montanez took his belongings and left the house. He later returned and said he had $250 for rent. Instead of handing it over, he took out Rodriguez, Laura, and when the teen stepped outside, the suspect fled on the scene, and they say he may be nearby as he doesn't have a car. He had no right to do this. Wow, crazy. Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water. Man arrested with loaded gun after allegedly stalking and sending threats to a Lewiston woman. And a man is facing stalking charges after following an escalating pattern of alleged harassment, threats, and repeated violations of a no-contact order. We just don't learn, do we, Joseph? Joseph Jordan was arrested on Thursday, charged with first degree. The charges stem from the alleged repeated threatening contact. According to Lewiston police, that's another takeaway from this hit piece they're doing on Brian, is they said that Emily said, we had no idea we were being stalked, and we suddenly realized it as soon as we made the 911 call. It's just like, I was listening to Harsh today, and he's like, he put it so well. I might play a piece of his. He had a good look at it, but it's like, why did you all of a sudden realize that you've been being stalked for months? Could it have been a day? Could it have been years? Could it have not been at all? How do you know you're being stalked? So that, I thought that was just an interesting article to mention. Lewiston. Coeur d'Alene community honors the legacy of the Idaho victims through Make It Pink Gala. The community gathered Friday night for the Make It Pink Gala to honor the legacy of 3 University of Idaho students. The event raises money for Maddie, Kaylee, and Xana Scholarship Fund, named after University of Idaho students. Yeah. It's a pretty color, and it's light and love. Angela Navajas, co-founder of the Made with Kindness Foundation. The nonprofit recently gave $30,000 to 12 students in Kootenai County area. Navajas started the foundation with her daughter Ashlyn, who was best friends with Maddie. And I had a clip of Ashlyn and Maddie. I don't know if it was in the reel or not. Like I said, I put it together. But now this whole thing, best friends, Ashlyn and Maddie. Kaylee's completely out of the picture. They were the best friends, best of friends, until Caitlin came along. Oh, okay. So the gala featured music and local businesses. Madison Lund owns Heart of Gold, a jewelry business at the event. I hope that it just makes them feel love to help bring peace and just support to their families around them. 20% of the Heart of Gold sales will go to the foundation. 20%. The scholarships support students who do community service like the 3 victims did. They're kind. They did things with the community. They did a lot of community service. They have a lot of aspirations and dreams and goals, just like all 3 of the girls did. And here's some photos from the event. And it does seem like a very fitting honor for the victims. I'm happy to see something like this put together. It doesn't seem like much of a contribution, 20%, but I guess you got to do what you got to do. So there's that. Special investigation apparently requested over evidence leak in Kohberger case. The defense for Brian Kohberger, the man charged with it, appears to have requested a special investigation into alleged leaks in the case in an NBC episode of NBC's Dateline last month. The prosecution in the case has filed a response to the defense's motion regarding the appointment of special prosecutor. According to public case summary, Hippler said, "Go fuck yourselves." Alright, let's see here. Nick Rolovic appeals earlier decision, says WSU fired him for his faith. A college football coach, hold on, wait, Lewiston, this is going to play that video, hold on. It's working against me. You can't pause yet, can't pause. Now I'm pausing. There we go. Okay, sorry about the delay. A college football coach asked a federal appeals court late yesterday to hold Washington State University accountable for firing over his request for a religious exemption from the state's COVID-19 vac mandate. So, there it is right there. Okay. Now we get into the protests here in Tampa. Hold on. Darn it. They're the worst ones, NBC. I can't mess with them. Okay. So, protests are happening across the country. And state on... I'll be honest. Okay, so I have the video. If you missed it in the very, 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 very beginning, I had the thing and all the things. And, don't keep that. Let me turn it down a little bit. They were out in force, and I wasn't, prepared when I first saw them because they were literally right around the corner when I started driving. And they'd left the corner where I originally saw them. Let me see if I can white balance this thing here. And they're all like, beep the horn, no Nazis, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, try not to step in front of the car. They didn't like that. She's like, okay, anyways, I don't know why they didn't like it. But anyway, so DeSantis here, as I told you the other day, said that if somebody tries to impede your progress or block your or surround your car, you can run them over. And I was like, people are just going to drive over to Tampa for these protests and try to use it, and then, hey, the governor said it was okay, all right, free to go, sir. And then Lucy sent me there. Hey, what's up, Scott? Lucy sent me one over there that the same thing, and she's like, this is happening, our Cleveland's turning into Tampa Bay, or Florida. And I was like, yeah, okay. And then we had another guy, a sheriff, who came out and said, if you protest and do anything illegal, we are going to take you out graveyard unalived. I'm telling you, there's a lot of rhetoric right now. But yeah, for the most part, it looks like we avoided any kind of military action here in Florida. This is a follow-up. Boca Grande shark attack nearly severed Florida girl's hand. That's the young girl right there. I hopefully she'll be able to keep it. She was snorkeling there off Boca Grande, and she was attacked, taken to Tampa General, and it was a bull shark. They just bite anything that... That's a funny picture. Weird. That they see just to taste it because they're big dumb sharks. And we have a lot of them here in Tampa Bay. Definitely a lot of them. Like you have the reef sharks down by... hold on. Down by the Bahamas and stuff like that. But in Tampa Bay, it's bull shark territory. And then we have the reef sharks come here to mate. So if you go down to Bradenton Beach, you'll once a year, usually I guess at the beginning of spring or summer, there'll be thousands of them. And that's right where if you surf, that's where you go, because it's deeper water coming into shallow water, as opposed to like Pinellas County where it's just shallow, 20 miles out, and so it disturbs the power of the wave. When you have deep water, anyway, so. This is the Tampa Police Department said it is investigating another shooting that occurred early Saturday morning. Officers responded to reports of shots fired at Adamo Drive at around 3 a.m. and found somebody dead. Police said there was an altercation between two men who knew each other before shots were fired. Nobody's been identified. I'm telling you, Tampa's like the Wild West right now. Authorities still searching for suspect in the shooting of two Minnesota state lawmakers. And this was an assassination. Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. And I think that Tommy Jude lives somewhere near Minnesota, or in Minnesota. So I don't know how close he was to all this. But hundreds of law enforcers fanned out across Minneapolis suburb Saturday. And they've identified the guy last I checked. But these are the two that lost their live Democratic senators there. And the guy got away. Yeah, okay, this is the guy. I don't believe they've caught him yet. And what happened was the police pulled up to the scene and found a cruiser, like a police cruiser. And the guy opened fire on the police. And someone else was able to flee, but there was definitely an exchange of bullets, and it looks like this guy took him out right in front of the door. So that happened. And that's 1, 2, 3. JJ, we're getting there. If you're still with us, is JJ still there? Please make a big dumb Tampa Bay shark. We have a shark, a legendary shark, and there's a lot of conjecture over whether it's still alive, but it's as big as a bus. It's a 30-foot hammerhead shark, and his name is Old Hitler. And he prowls the waters underneath the pilings of the Skyway Bridge, going from St. Petersburg to Sarasota, Bradenton. And people, it's been like the Black Pearl, where people are or whatever. What was that movie? It's like Moby Dick. Anyway, I wanted to run through this 14 forgotten Wendy's menu items from the 90s. Yum. And here they got a nice list. And I remembered these. I was like, this is going to be dumb. Chicken cordon bleu. Does anybody remember? That's a good sandwich. That was good stuff right there. And they had fresh stuffed pitas. I don't remember that. I do miss the salad bar. And then they had hot stuffed potatoes. And they were the bomb. They were so good. And then you had, after they had the salad bar closed because somebody sneezed in it wrong, they did a taco salad for a long time, and that's now gone. And then you had the Biggie drinks and fries, and the grilled chicken sandwich, and then chili chips and cheese was a nice, convenient way to get your savory on, right? And I don't know if everybody remembers. Then they had Monterey Ranch chicken sandwich. And this is making me hungry. I don't remember this one either, but it sounds good. The Carolina Classic. It looks like it's got coleslaw and beans on it, which would be nice for the 4th of July coming up. And Country French chicken sandwich. This just goes on. Cheddar. Okay, as soon as JJ gets on there, I'm going to go. Rah, rah, rah. This is making me hungry. Cheddar Lovers Bacon Cheeseburger Pork. Of course, that was the predecessor to the Baconator. And then you have the Wendy's Melt. And the Baked Italian sandwich was their foray into Stromboli. Country Fried Steak. I tried that one. It was okay. I worked at Cracker Barrel, so I'm really picky. Anyway, that's food, Mews. And let's see what we got here. Alright, let's get to this loop and take a look here. Let's blow her up. Alright, I'm just going to read her words, and you guys can decide for yourselves what's going on here. Hopefully, you guys have already come across this, and maybe you need to decipher, as I did once again, from Lucy Liu, the Dark Lord of the Underworld. So here's my question about the alleged DoorDash driver that some have claimed to have identified as Molly Marie McMichael. Other than her MM initials, what is the link to Brian Koberger case, especially when, in the matter of the application of the state of Idaho for an order directing the attendance of M&M, seems to be a subpoena for a person with the initials related to the upcoming trial. Image 1. We'll get to that. Notice the Pullman, Washington FOIA Open Records Request Summary. There are 2 requests with the timestamps for each. I am requesting all body-worn camera footage for case number 24, blah, blah, blah. I am also requesting a copy of the police report for this incident. And 9:14, 7:16 p.m. I'm requesting blah, blah, blah. No other records of this incident found. No other record of this incident having been FOIA other than these requests, which occurred about 10 days after the incident. Washington Court's case search results. District Court provides 2 cases. Whitman District Court, McMichael, Molly Marie, status, case number, and Whitman District Court filed 6/21/22 for Molly Marie. Superior Court provides 1 case. This is the case that was recently filed on the 14th of May, 2025. UND residential unlawful detainer. A second person is named in this case, James Mackey, and there's an upcoming hearing on June 18th. Residential unlawful detainer is eviction. Whitman County Superior Court, Molly McMichael, participant, defendant. Archived. No docket info. Unlawful detainer. There does seem to be a glitch linking the case and the other case. I did not add the image here, but it will make a good second post with the image next. Here is the link. Washington Court searching hearings result for the filing on May 14th, 2025. This case listed as UND, residential unlawful detainer, and the hearings thus far in the case. Out-of-state subpoena with the additional MM. In the matter of the application of the state of Idaho for an order directing the attendance of MM. Malicious civil case status. Plaintiff Brian Koberger, lead attorney. Could Healy Richard Mark retained. Case information, cover sheet, motion, comment for an order to direct attendance in an Idaho District Court. Motion for waiver of fees, order waiving comments, filing fees, hearing time, and here we go. So again, I asked, what exactly is the thing that links Molly Marie McMichael to Brian Koberger, other than this Pullman BWC footage from an incident on the 4th of September 2024 that is described by the creator, featuring it as new information that was recently uncovered, when the only time this footage was requested via FOIA was 10 days after the date of the incident. And the requests are listed. So here you have the actual public record archive, and here's the request. So let's read. If she actually saw BK at the King Road house, she would have been in the PCA, not DM. She may have seen a white car in the area as described to her by LE and told to say certain things after the fact. So that's what a lot of people are saying, is that she, in this body cam footage, says, I was the DoorDash driver. I am being forced to testify against him. Let's see what the back and forth is here. Too many weird things going on. She tried to be at the start, and she used your watermarked body cam footage so she looked like you, Lana. I can probably find the warning email I sent you way back then. And you can read the rest. Oh, I know about all that fluff. I knew you would. Dollhouse and debunking video. Looking forward to it. Thank you. So, I know Fitzy always gets a kick when Lana responds to it. So, this is a pretty big deal. Yeah, I'm not playing that footage. We've seen it already, haven't we? Alright. And a pair lost their lives in a skydiving incident at Devon Airfield. And I pointed out to Lucy earlier today, because I know she likes the numbers, that a lot of things seem to be happening in pairs. In recent days, you have the senators there. It goes on and on and on and on and on. I don't know its significance. It just struck me as odd. These two skydivers, I guess their chute didn't open. Makes sense. And they were probably tethered together. Hot sorority or go. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Wait, let's start with this. Because tonight I want to play a game with you guys called Just the Tip. And me and JJ might get into it a little later here with you. And it's going to be hot or not. A criminal. I'm going to read the story to you guys. And you're going to tell me whether she's hot or not. Or he's hot or not. With a 1 or a 2. Hot sorority girl arrested again after first mugshot went viral. The hot sorority girl that went viral for the beautiful mugshot was arrested again. She's just fishing for compliments now. And she goes to the University of Georgia. Went viral for a mugshot earlier. Incredible headshot. Everyone had their jokes. And if you remember her, there she was. Sorry. A big fat head. So I wasn't able to find, because this is People Magazine, so whatever so that's a little teaser for the game tonight for you guys. Air India crash reignites Boeing concerns. Here's what global documentaries reveal. And so I wanted to touch on this because we know since I think it goes back 2020, the constant parts falling off of planes with the Boeing, and now we have one of their brand new, beautiful Dreamliner plane. I remember the whole build-up to getting this plane in there. Tex-Mex, Thundercloud. I was going to put echo on my voice. All right, we're almost through news. Friends of Idaho victims who were first in the house break their silence about arriving at the scene. And let's see here. Witnesses have spoken publicly for the first time in a new docuseries, according to ABC News, which viewed the series. The documentary details that happened that morning after the university. Blah, blah, blah. The witnesses interviewed in the series, titled One Night in Idaho, which will air on Amazon Prime, were the first to discover the crime scene. Here's where we get into it. Emily Alond, her boyfriend Hunter Johnson, and roommate Josie Laturin, those are new names, last names, and I know Josie, were living down the road from the off-campus house where the victims were found. One of the surviving roommates, Dylan, called the three of them and asked them to come over. Come on, hang out. Come on. We don't need no police here. Come on, hang out. When Dylan had called, I didn't think it was urgent. What? So I start walking to Xana's house, and when we get there, Dylan and Bethany Funk had exited the house. They looked frightened, just hands on the mouth like I don't know what's going on type of thing. She said her boyfriend, Johnson, entered the house to investigate and said that she immediately felt something was not right when she entered the house. Johnson was the first to discover the crime scene and be heard on a 911 call telling all of the friends to get out. The docuseries also features Chapin's siblings and parents and Mogan's parents. They don't give a audio clip, if you haven't seen the teaser for it, of any of Mogan's interview. They just show her crying. And then the Chapins, the quote that I remember hearing was that the justice system is not about the victims. Let's leave it at that. The series premieres on July 11th, 1 month, conveniently, exactly almost before the trial starts. And DNA recovered on the knife sheath. Oh, I think we're getting some rain. Is that what that is? Oh yeah, it's Starr. I didn't hear any thunder and lightning yet, but we'll have it, I'm sure. Police allegedly linked him to the crime scene using DNA recovered from a knife sheath. According to the probable cause affidavit, investigators also traced his location using his cell phone and obtained surveillance footage that they cherry-picked, showing a car appearing to be the same make and model. They even make sure to put appearing. But that jury pool is tainted already. According to Koberger's defense team, he was driving by himself on the night of the murders, and he maintains his innocence. He has been charged with 4 counts. The remainder of the Bonnaroo Music Festival 2025 was canceled in Tennessee due to severe weather, and that's a lot of money. But it was Megadeth, the Glass Animals, Rainbow Kitten Surprise, Vampire Weekend, Queens of the Stone Age would be nice to see, Avril Lavigne, and many others. So it's been going on through 2002. I guess that's the first one that they canceled. It's definitely not the first one where people lost their lives, right? So this is Luciano Gutierrez. He does dumb things. If there was such a thing as truth in advertising, Luciano Gutierrez would be a shoo-in. He went viral in 2025 for wearing a shirt during his mugshot that says more than his face ever could. The Texas man was arrested for DUI, and these are going to be just some of our hot or nots coming up in the story. That's just a little teaser for you. And the Minnesota neighborhood was on lockdown, last I heard, after a targeted assassination attempt over there. No word. And here we get to the game. And this was the scene. Pretty wild, right? I didn't even know they had vehicles. Like, I guess we saw some of this stuff at Diddy's arrest in Miami, but look at this bus. That is really some wild, wild stuff. Alright, and that is almost it for Mews. This is in Juarez, and you can see that they were hanging the bodies over the side of the interstate. So, you know where that's coming from. I thought it was very well related to the case. Awful news. And then that's it for Mews. Alright, cool. And so let's see if we've hooked ourselves with JJ yet. Is he out? Are you out there, JJ? Do you exist? He's gonna let me suffer and struggle for at least 7 minutes. I'm absolutely sure of it. Did I not have... Where did the... Oh, never mind. Okay. Yeah. It really is. That's a good point, Lucy. I ate like a few hours ago, but all that Wendy's talk got my stomach grumbling. So on behalf of Amy Conway, I think I'm going to take a bite from my double chocolate donut over here and get some get some type 2 diabetes underway. Why not? Let's do it. Excellent. I could just sit here and play guitar. I don't know. Just Saturday night, chilling with my friends. Here we go. Oh, yeah, that's a news article. That's probably not going to help you, JJ. Try again. Wait, what did you say? Tanel Ray said something good. I was reading it, and she deleted it. I guess I just need another bite of chocolate donut. Could more things happen in one day since we did the live 2 days ago? I'm just like, we gotta go live. This is nuts. Alright, we'll give him 7 minutes. And we'll get JJ up here. Excuse me. Alright. What else do I have for you? Yeah. Oh, there it is. Let me get the...
Good evening. Are we purging? Is this the purge?
JJ Vance, everybody. Let's hear it for not
live?
the Vice President. Good day, sir.
Live?
Happy Army 250th anniversary to you, sir.
I didn't do it.
Did you MK Ultra me?
Sadly, I think you're high on your own stash of cocaine. Get it? C-O, Kane? Get it? Can I say that? Is that allowed? Are you going to splash me with green slime now? What's going on here? What's the purge?
The censor's ears just perked up.
I'm all hyped up on coffee and been in the basement. I got my shoelace just got jammed up on the other shoelace. It's all hopped up on coffee I am at the moment. The my whatever it was, my boot lace there got hooked on the boot loop from the other side. I was like, what's going on here? Did you clone me? Are you cloning me?
I'm speechless with the news. I wanted it to start by asking you about the plane crash, if you had any opinions on that one.
Well, I have a lot of opinions on a lot of things, sir, but good evening. How you doing, Kane?
Great, nice to see you. Let's get right into it. No, it's nice to have you here. Thank you for coming, man. I appreciate it. I do have 7 donuts and 7 brothers.
I hope so, dude. You gave me a surprise purge here. I don't necessarily disappreciate the situation. I'm kind of a fan, but nonetheless, you're going to owe me a couple donuts and hula burgers for this one, friend.
You got it.
Good to see you. I appreciate the invite as always, and fellow purgers, looking forward to the conversation. JJ Vance, not the Vice President.
I feel so much better.
I would too after all those chocolate donuts.
Man.
Here's the deal. I sent you. I listened to your introductions. It sounds like I may have cloned you. I heard you got a good Schindler's List on somebody. It feels good, doesn't it? Getting them by surprise, these Schindler's List.
I even had him with the zinger of it was their maiden name.
I heard that's a good follow-up. I like that one.
You know how Dago is. He doesn't appreciate humor at all times.
No, I mean, and sometimes that's the best person to drop on. They need humor in their life, right? You got to insert it for them.
He's got a great sense of humor. It's just sometimes coming from me, he takes it with a grain of salt, I believe, because I'm a character, allegedly.
Oh, I haven't noticed. That's the first I've heard of this, actually. You're a character, huh?
That's what Tommy Jude says.
I don't disagree.
Which is a euphemism for asshole, I guess.
In reference to all your conundrums and questions regarding this alleged plane wreck in some alleged bill somewhere else, I sent you a clip on your emails if you can bring it up.
Okay, yeah, I will. Sure. Let me hide my email so Trish doesn't freak out and have a heart attack. Thank you, Meg P. That was very generous of you. I appreciate it. We'll try to get that directly to JJ, and I know exactly where I'm going to get those donuts from.
And by directly, do you mean you're going to get an IV hookup and just mainline the donuts into my system?
Yeah, we have like one of those vacuum tube systems, and I'm just going to send it from my local bank, and it'll vacuum tube right to Ohio.
Oh man, I'm into it.
So hold your breath.
I think a lot can be described on today's plane events by looking at this other plane event. And I sent you a video clip.
All right, let me get that up here real quick. Well, I know what I can do. Hang on.
And despite your surprise assault and attack on me with a purge here this evening, I do have a list of tabs open and notes for this evening's discussion.
Excellent. Yeah, I figured you were as fired up as I was. How'd you like that reel tonight? I had some I like the AI videos of Koberger, personally.
It is a good reel, is a solid reel. And to answer your question, you gotta wake up pretty early. I'm a Boy Scout, so you know we're pretty much live by the motto "Be prepared." You know what I mean?
I agree. What was the handshake with like that?
I believe the handshake is not appropriate for most social circumstances and conversations. Involves a scoutmaster and a young scout in very private circumstances.
We won't say go fuck yourselves.
You thought that 3-finger salute was just the 3-finger salute. They call that the good morning hello there, you know, for the scoutmaster.
Is that what happens in the latrines over there at Boy Scout camp?
Thank goodness. My scout leader was a Mormon fellow. Not to say that they're not capable of doing the diddling, but I do appreciate the diddle-free Boy Scout environment I had offered through the Mormon Church, at least in my ward.
Well, I'm glad that you made it through. I had a very nice Cub Scout teacher in Webelos. I never went beyond Webelos. But we had it right here on Lake Seminole, which is across the street from where I live.
Did he
had
tell you
the
to
big
put the lotion on the
bonfire.
skin?
That's where you became an Eagle Scout or whatever.
Did he tell you to put the
What
sun
is
lotion
this
on the
video?
skin? Or Kane gets the hose again?
What is this video? Hold on. I have to change. Hold on.
It's a 30-second banger of a clip there with
That is a banger, all right.
It's the official U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan's.
Oh, is that the? I can't play it. It's NBC. They've struck me more times than lightning.
You stop it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna describe it for folks then. So,
I'll show you a picture. I'll show you a picture.
Yeah, do a screenshot. I can send you a screenshot if you need it.
No, I have it up.
It's an iconic image, though, right? Everyone remembers this image, right?
Sure, yeah.
The C-17 leaving Bagram Air Force Base in Afghanistan, departures, and you hear the engines running. You see all these folks from Afghanistan Central Casting run alongside. Because here's the deal: if those engines are running on that C-17, every one of those motherfuckers would be in about 1,000 pieces right now. You can't get that close to a running engine on that C-17. I don't know. I'm not going to profess that I know what's going on here. What I am going to tell you here is, I spent a career on Air Force flight lines, and you don't want to go any. First of all, you don't see the engine turbines in the video. There's no turbines in these engines. You hear them, you see it moving. You have the appearance and magic show that this is a real scene. But I assure you, it is a magic show because every one of these motherfuckers would be sucked into that engine right now. That's what they want you. That's what they want you to appear. They got folks jumping on this thing. Again, I'm not going to purport to understand what I know what was going down here. What I'm telling you is, you can easily discern through some elements of these events that this is bullshit. And then after that, what does it matter, right? Because once you realize it's bullshit, then it's bullshit. Like I remember watching this. This was what, August 2021. I remember watching this and I was like, well, that's not real. Because it's obvious, because the engines aren't. It can't be. You hear them run again. You hear them running. You see the plane moving, so you think it's actually going. But I assure you, it's not. That's all magic show. I can. Well, that's what they want you. That's the image they want to show you, right? Oh, don't leave us, America. Trump's a bad man. He's leaving Afghanistan. Even though it was during the Biden administration, was the deal struck under Trump, right? Let me share with you all another story here. So I was in Prince Sultan. Was it Prince Sultan Air Base? Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia in the months preceding an event that would fundamentally change my life. And that event that would fundamentally change my life was coming face to face with a cannibalistic, homicidal, kid-diddling, psychopathic serial killer in the Cascade County Jail in Great Falls, Montana. And in the summer of 2001.
Is this the Hardee's guy?
Yeah. Then I would later learn he more than likely served me up some human meat burgers at a Hardee's the summer prior. In between these two events, I was in Saudi Arabia for a good portion of that time. And I remember coming back to my dorm room there because we were living kind of high in the hog. We had an indoor in-ground pool there. You know what I mean? We had some nice dorm buildings.
That's some good digs. Yeah.
Every other deployment I lived in a tent and or a hammock on a plane. So yes, these were and then I had a box.
That's
I made
an
Master Sergeant. I made Master Sergeant. They give me my own 10 box. I'm like, oh, thanks, fellas. I'm really moving up in the world. So I guess it's better than 13 dudes at a tent. So there is an improvement there. But anyhow, I'm over in Saudi Arabia. I get off shift, and we have a nice building. The Bin Laden company built this air base, by the way. And this is before September 11th, but I'm just saying we're on an air base built by the Bin Laden company. And this, I get off shift, and the news is on in the day rooms. There's a day room TV. There's like 2 rooms off of each wing of the day room, right? Kind of, or 4 rooms off, 2 on each side, kind of deal. So this is our whole building, right? We're living in. It's all other Air Force cops that are in the their building, but some of them work different shifts. So the guys that are watching TV in the day room there, as I'm walking into the place off shift, they're on day shift, but they're off that day, right? We work it was like 6 days on, 1 day off, or some nonsense. They're watching TV, and it says there's a bunch of missions being flown out of Prince Sultan Air Base, bombing folks over the night. And I'm like, what the fuck? They're asking me. I'm like, I just came from the flight line, bud. There's not a damn soul out there all night. We didn't do anything. And here I am watching on the day room TV. They're telling us that there's bombing missions flying out of Prince Sultan Air Base. I'm like, oh, the shit there is. I was there all night. I say I didn't even fucking sleep last night. I usually take a nap. Thought maybe it could have happened during nap hour, but no.
That reminds me of that video where they were in the tent, the deployed troops, and Kamala Harris was literally saying that we have no actively deployed troops anywhere, and they're like, "What the fuck are we? What?"
Yeah, right.
Wow, that's up there.
Yeah, I just a lot of these events we see on the news and these TVs that try to generate emotions or certain bend everyone's opinion in a certain direction, or like convicting Brian Kober in the court of public opinion. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
The bullshit is piling up high, bro.
You ain't kidding.
When you get to this Molly McDonald or whatever, Grimace the Clown lady, now you have to wonder where this person got this from and why all of a sudden did they have it. What connection did you have?
I don't have any connections right now because I'm not sure what you're talking about, sir. You're gonna have to bring me up to speed.
Oh, it's the Lucy Morningstar post that I was reading.
I did see that the DoorDash driver, and I did see her husband was murdered. I read some of that case.
Yeah. And so suddenly now this audio or this video of her being booked, and she claims to be the DoorDash driver in the Idaho4 case, and that they are forcing her to testify against him, allegedly, so to speak. So
I'm going to go ahead and invoke the gooch factor and say I remain very circumspect of all these activities.
For the one part, it seems that it would. Did you just plead the gooch?
I pled the gooch, sir. I pled the gooch.
You can't plead the gooch.
I will invoke my Gooch Amendment right to plead the gooch anytime I damn well please. This is America.
Happy Army 250th anniversary today, sir. You were in the Army at some point, right?
I was actually, strangely enough, you are correct. I was briefly in the Army. It was not one of the happiest experiments of my life. And I do say experiment because it didn't last long. I went to Army OCS school and I graduated. That wasn't the problem. But I ended up going back in the Air Force Reserves after that. So yeah, Wasn't a fun. I don't look fondly upon it. Again, it's not. I don't judge people. I don't hold any grudges. But whatever those assholes were up to, I didn't want any part of it in the first place.
There was 101st Airborne guy that got murked, and I was gonna put the article. I thought I'd put it in there for us to talk about. Did you hear anything about that one?
I did not, but I got an article to talk about with you. I got a bone to pick with you, sir.
Pick away.
Are you familiar with the name Bill Blatsky?
Bill Blatsky? I know Bill Blatsky from the bar down the street.
Bill Blatsky.
Duh, Blatsky.
Hey, are you familiar with the name David Warner? He was in 2013, he was a Washington State University gender studies, blah, 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 professor. In 2013, he got his dick knocked in the dirt, and quite honestly, I think he was in a coma for like 2 weeks or something like that.
Who, Blatsky?
Blatsky. He went down hard, Blatsky.
The attack was reported by students in a criminology course after they saw the incident through surveillance cameras at Pullman Dispatch.
Uh-oh, bombshell, dude. This is some Meow Report style bombshells right here.
Holy smack-a-diddle-doo.
This is actually out of the executive summary. I found this in the executive summary of the Meow Report.
It was right there all along.
It was there the entire time, man. We're just missing it.
If we just open the damn door, if we just open that damn door. Now, they have a Ring doorbell now on the Meowery Report.
Oh, well, it's obviously it's going to be under revision. It's an ongoing investigation. You can't expect things to be the same 3 months from now as they were 3 months ago, Kane. Let's be honest about it.
Yeah, no, it's a constantly... If he's not stalking, then he's surveilling.
Well, I think you need some night vision goggles in here so you can do that surveillance. But isn't it interesting? So I tracked down these cameras they're talking about, and as I think they mentioned in this same article, I'll post a link here. These are provided by federal government grants, and they've gotten a number of them since then. So while I don't have a map of the cameras, I can assure you they have more of these cameras since 2013 when this event occurred in July of 2013.
Oh, this was 2013. So okay, so there was another creator that did a thing on Stadium Drive and said that there's no camera at that light, and then I certainly found a camera that is on a pole, specifically a surveillance camera, and posted it. So yeah,
good for you, sir. Good
this
for you.
Is say again?
No, I said good for you. Well done, sir. Well done.
Yes, sir. Yeah, there. And so there's. Long story short, you're able. Should I click on this link? Is it safe?
Yeah, it's the spokesman. That's the article that I posted, right? The screenshot from.
Is it dark? Is it tall? Invite him in. Let's see. Why isn't it showing? Oh, I gotta change. Whoop. Oh, that's. Why is it showing that one? Interesting. Hold on. Sorry, my bad. There it is. Boop. Okay, so this is a spokesman article here. And two arrested after an attack on WSU instructor, 2013, an anonymous tip is unraveling the mystery of a brutal attack that has left WSU instructor in critical condition at Spokane Hospital. Pullman Police Chief Gary Jenkins said a tip...
Gary Jenkins, I've heard that name before.
Bing, 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 bing. Led authorities to arrest 20-year-old Madeline Fouts and 23-year-old Joshua W. Nance. I said Nance.
No known Greek connections, by the way.
I said Lance, not Nance.
Oh, Nance or Lance?
I said Lance.
I think it's spelled Pam. Pam. It's a silent D.
Fouts is from Smone and Marsh, and Nance is from, McMichael, Washington, according to their social media accounts. This will be the first group. So, not only do they have the cameras, they have the criminology department using them where Koberger went to school.
There you go.
This
Get
is my
this.
takeaway so far.
These two students and the law enforcement. No, you're spot on. And Gary Jenkins says they would have never solved this, and had it not been for those students and those damn cameras. Because I don't think they wanted to solve this. No one was charged, and these students were reported through an anonymous tip from Western Washington, whatever the fuck that means.
Well, that's probably what they'll throw in to the Koberger cases was an anonymous tip.
That's precisely what I was thinking. Thank you. So we got an anonymous tip to some federal government surveillance operations in and around Pullman that are using the students for the actual, technician to to monitor these the feeds, if you will, right? So the whole thing is weird because you got to think, what's this evolved into? So this was 2013. They got a lot more money since then. We still got Jenkins involved in the mix, and we got a criminology student involved in all the situation out of that same university. So whatever that program of surveillance they've been, what they've been doing over there. And again, I don't know if it's like a, one of those kind of test bed cities where they're testing out some surveillance. These things do exist. You know what I mean? Where the federal government offers money to local municipalities to test certain technologies. Oh, there's old Coomer Scott Green garbage pail kid.
I almost lost my shit when I saw this the first time. That is the best AI that I've seen yet. It's so similar. Wow, that is funny. Okay, so yeah, so you have, I'm not a mathematician, but you have 12 years of progress.
You do better math than this guy here. He likes to smell his own farts, dude. I guarantee you do better math than he does.
Does he drive a Prius? That's what I want to know.
He probably does, dude.
So you have 12 years separating this surveillance system that was used to solve a crime that is not even mentioned in this case.
Let's one objection there. Used to identify the perpetrators of the crime, but not used to bring anyone to justice. No one was charged in this crime.
Oh no. So they know who did it, they know it happened, but they didn't charge anybody. Why, JJ?
Well, I have a couple ideas there, sir, but that's a horse of a different color, and I figured we'd do that a different day.
Fair enough. It's hard to think about...
I just wanted to ruminate on this idea here that they had no fucking cameras, when I can tell you, and on that other day I'll put together the total number of dollars again. I don't know where they're putting these cameras, but I can tell you the federal government has been sending money for additional surveillance technologies of this nature, which seem to be integrated into the precise program that Koberger's involved in. So, I got a lot of questions when you start looking at it from that regard, when they say they have no, I'm just saying there's a lot of implications there. It could go a lot of different ways just with that information. I just want to say, let's ruminate on that for a moment, right?
It's hard to think about how this person, so full of life and compassion, brainstorm, identified the suspects. She faces felony charges of rendering criminal and lying to authorities. And so this is dating back a while. And so as far as the criminology department helped identify this person, they clearly have access to these cameras also as well.
Yeah, so let me add you this one. I'll add a little teaser on this tale here for a future purge here. But there was a poor man's yayo charge added to one of the townies. The two other townies, there's four folks, 2 students, 2 non-students, the 2 townies as I called them. There was a poor man's yayo charge added on there, and then later dropped along with no one getting charged. So what I'm saying here is whatever went down was drug related.
You've been doing your homework, bro. I'll tell you what. You got about a baker's dozen of hula burgers headed your way. And I'm going to put tomatoes on them this time, as requested.
I appreciate it, good sir. I always enjoy bringing some new thoughts and ideas here to the purge.
Damn,
and I also,
dude.
I have to thank my long history of not smelling my own farts like Coomer Scott Green here to achieve this here state of being.
There's a lot of brain power in not smelling your own farts. You can see what it'll do to you.
Saves a lot of brain cells.
I smell my own farts.
Dude, you can't tell me that smug bastard does not love the smell of his own farts, dude.
I hope he's watching.
I would love it if he was watching. I got an email. Look, dude, I may like to smell my own farts, but at least I'm a millionaire. If I got an email like that from Kimber Scott Green, dude, that would make my day.
So you said you had some other stuff on the hibachi, huh?
You tell me, bud. You tell me. So there's an incident that I strongly presume involves the trafficking of said poor man's yayo.
Okay.
It involves a trucker in a dream. His name was he wanted to go over the top. You know what I mean? You familiar with the storyline?
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, dude. Classic '80s Stallone right there. Yeah, you know what I mean. That was back when he was on the good roids.
Then he started doing the song to that was amazing. That was it wasn't Michael Bolton. It was what's that guy's name that did the soundtrack to You're the
Peter
best
Cetera?
around. Nothing's ever gonna bring you down. You're the best.
Cetera?
Or was that Karate Kid? I don't know.
I'm just gonna keep naming the guy I presume is the lead singer of the band Chicago.
Yeah, Michael Bolton.
Yes. I think his grandfather was Schindler's List. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was his maiden name.
Great stuff so far, JJ.
You remember when I was telling you about Chuck Palahniuk's father, right? Getting murked in Latah County in May of 1999, May 29th, 1999.
Refresh our memories in case I don't remember.
May 29th, 1999, Chuck Palahniuk's father allegedly answers a classified ad online and meets a lady. He goes on a date for the very first time with this lady by going over to her house. Some sort of dispute ensues with her ex-husband, who's allegedly hiding out in her remote mountain cabin near Kendrick, Idaho, in southern Latah County. Whatever went down, dude was there and involved in it, right? Did he murder these two people? I don't know.
So he was laying in wait in this cabin when they're on their first date?
Yeah. So he's written an entire, and I'm not even going to try to translate it right now, other than saying he disputes it. He finally got off death row last year over the tomfoolery involved in this case by folks like everyone's favorite Latah prosecutor, Bill Thompson. Now, Bill Thompson wasn't the lead on this, though, but he was the prosecutor. The lead was the deputy who, not long after basically the resolution of, trying to make sure this dude never had another appeal again in his life, that deputy prosecutor resigned in 2005 and moved to Alaska to start a sausage company.
Was he the sausage king of Chicago?
Well, I think she's the sausage queen of Anchorage now is what they call her.
I weep for the future.
Right, I think it's a she, Robin Ekman. So 18 years as the deputy prosecutor of Latah County, 1987 to 2005. So that's what I'm saying. They punched like the Gooch. They punched out as soon as they got their job done with the case, and that case was making sure. I was about to call him Rusty Shackleford. Fucking Dale Shackleford never gets out of prison, so he was on death row until he appealed that, I believe, himself. I'll have to go back and look, but I believe that last appeal that he was doing pro se. Anyway, he's a very ill man in Idaho prisons, and when he achieved getting off death row last year, it seems like they're trying to kill him because they put him in general pop, and he can't even walk or move, according to other blogs I've been reading on the subject. Where he's not an easy guy to defend because he's a piece of shit. But does that mean he murdered two people just because you're a piece of shit? I would argue no. It's it's not necessarily true. Just because you're a piece of shit doesn't mean you murdered two people. Again, he was there and he has his own tale, but the victims are his ex-wife and Chuck Palahniuk. Now, there's a whole tale where he was supposed to be picking up his daughter, right? He's actually a long-haul truck driver. He was bringing in a load of powdered milk, as he claims, from Missouri. Powdered milk from Missouri, huh? Sounds a lot like you're probably trafficking poor man's yayo.
Yeah, the poor man's powdered milk.
Exactly. There you go. So, and the whole scene, it ends in a fiery, blaze and two people dead in this cabin, and him telling the first officer on scene some things that he would later try to get thrown out of court. So the question I have is, did he tell those first two officers on seeing those things, or are these more of the frozen shock face comments we see with Dylan Mortensen? Is this business as usual in Latal County? Because it seems like it is.
The Bubbly Waters had a really killer piece in regard to this Molly McDonald girl, and she, if you remember last time we purged, she I talked about how they have this seemingly revolving door for people committing excessively large amounts of substances, getting caught with it, and then being released. Now, in her piece,
well, if I may, real quick, that's why I keep stressing that Latal Drug Rehab Center, run by literally run by the Moscow PD Chief Dollinger, but it's always been run by Moscow PD real estate, these numerous real estate agents that kind of just turn over time, and that one gay cowboy, and that hospital administrator. So whatever's going on in this drug situation there in that county is very suspect. When you're saying they're not getting time, they seem to be getting divergence plans and going through this drug rehab situation. Again, I would say there's a lot of questions to be had around that operation.
Well, the question that she raised was, are these people that are involved in the case, especially this DoorDash driver girl? And you can hear it when they're interviewing her, that we could put a rug charge on you, but we're not. Like, they could, here was the takeaway. Well,
that's what I told you last time, right? That they're using these kind of people and bending them, right, with Enon Hart.
Because if you have a record, if you have a history of being arrested, right, they're able to plant stuff on you, whether it was yours or not, and then nobody's going to believe you because you have a history of it. Who's going to defend you?
Who's going to, whether you have a history of it or not, who's going to stop Megan Marshall?
No.
Bill Thompson? Miss Piggy?
I submit no. Definitely, excuse me.
Miss Piggy, a.k.a. Shushley Jennings. So, no, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Whatever the fuck is going on with all this drug business there from every angle in that region, it's a problem. And I would argue old Rusty Shackelford here was involved in that. So the story goes is, this dude, Chuck Palahniuk's dad's on his first date with a lady he met through an online classified in May of 1999. Get fucked. I was fucking, I was 18. I don't know how many online classifieds existed in 1999. I was too busy drinking and getting fed human meat burgers in Great Falls, Montana. But I can't imagine. It's not like, there's not apps like it is today, right?
No, it was, AOL was all you had. You had Windows 95. Windows 98 had just come out. Most people still had 95. And so it was a slow running operating system. AOL kind of came out and started growing. That was the only way people got online. Was right,
so it's a very limited thing. It's not a very popular thing. Could it happen? Sure, but it's not like it is today. I just want to throw that context in there for the natures of this tale. But so this happens. This is Memorial Day weekend, and it just so happens to be the same weekend this lady cancels. Allegedly, according to Rusty Shackelford's long-winded, and again, I understand some of my statements are a bit verbose. Rusty Shackelford could have definitely. I read the entire fucking thing. He did not need to write it that long. He could have summarized it quite a bit, but. In his tale, he's driving this. He has a pre-planned event. He lives in the region. I forget exactly where, with his new wife, right? And he's supposed to be doing a swap off with his daughter, with his ex-wife, right? And again, she's supposedly had filed charges against him in Missouri, where they used to live, or something like that. Again, it's a lot. When you're maintaining residences in Idaho and Missouri, and you're a long haul trucker, I'm obviously going to assume you're running stuff, especially in the Latal County, right? So that's circumstance here. Nonetheless, for some reason, she files charges apparently against him, against Diddle and her other daughter from a previous marriage, his stepdaughter, not his biological one, and then they both moved to Latal County. Get fucked. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? So none of this story makes any sense. And so Chuck Palahniuk, the author of Fight Club, his father meets this lady on that online classified. Apparently, she cancels the pickup with the daughter with her ex-husband. The ex-husband drops his wife off. He comes into town on this long haul trucking route from Missouri. He drops his ex-wife or his current wife off at their home. Goes to meet his ex-wife, for whatever reason. This part gets real murky. And then, according to the state, he hides out in the cabin on this mountaintop there in southern Law County near Kendrick. And then when I guess he knew that his wife was coming home or his ex-wife was coming back. It's not really clear. He has some tale on his blog. Again, he has a blog of how he interacts with his ex-wife the day prior when he first gets into town, like the night prior or whatever. I don't know.
He has a blog in '99.
No, he's a blog right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a blog right now where he's put out his he starts out the entire long-winded. I'll put a link here. He starts out the long-winded journey by saying that the actual events have been sealed in an envelope and sent outside the prison walls to trusted sources. So, and then he goes on to tell some of those events. He says it serves him no purpose to release names and other identities of people that are to blame for what has occurred that day and why he's in prison. But the only people he does point out that knows that he is not guilty happens to be those first officers on scene and that deputy prosecuting attorney who Pop Smoke is now the sausage queen of Anchorage, Alaska, after 18 years of the Latah County Prosecutor's Office. So those first two officers on scene that he points out happen to be the current sheriff and the current chief deputy on the road.
What's
Wasn't that
the
interesting?
sheriff's name?
Skiles, the guy who doesn't say anything about anything, right? So if we consider his biography, so he's done a lot of shit since he responded to this murder scene back in May of 1999 when he was a patrolman on deputy sheriff of Latah County and patrol officer. He then went on to be a officer chief of police at Troy Police Department, just east of Latah or Moscow, 2013 to 2016. And before that, he was a reserve officer for 5 years at St. Marie Police Department, the Payne boys' hometown. Brett and Kyle, the U.S. Army Special Forces guy and his younger brother. The bald-headed fuck in charge of the investigation, who also has the top secret clearance for the U.S. Army. Yeah, the Hobbit motherfucker. So Richard Skiles also served in the United States Marines. I'm interested in that because he's old enough to kind of dabble into that same network of folks I've been describing around Iran-Contra. Granted, there wasn't many Marines involved in that network. There were some Marines involved in the Material Assistance Command. It was just the majority of which was not. And most of those guys were logistics. So if he worked Marine Corps logistics, I got a lot of questions.
A takeaway. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, and then I'm describing his from the moment. He's done a lot of weird things just since he did that, right? So he responds to that. He leaves law enforcement for a while. After he responds to this murder scene of Chuck Palahniuk's father back in May of 1999, for a while he was the manager of the Moscow Zips drive-through burger spot for 5 years.
The Moscow Zip what shop?
Zips Burgers drive-through.
Zips Burgers drive-through. Okay, were they serving human?
I didn't even consider that, to be honest with you.
Not question.
I just think it's an odd trajectory for the sheriff, right? This guy who's clearly been so he's now the sheriff. He's not commenting on shit. Remote. He stood there in one press conference. I don't think he's ever made a statement, though, right? Am I wrong? Am I wrong about making that statement? Am I wrong about him making no statements? Is that a correct statement? Who's on first?
What is on second? But I know that. Abbott. The county sheriff. I would have to replay the press conferences to see if he ever spoke because Chief was the master of ceremonies in that whole production.
I think he's only there for that first press conference, and that's it.
And so, you had all the players. You had Scott Green get introduced. You had the ISP guy, who was that guy's a dick. And then allegedly, and then
who's that? Colonel Mustard
with the wrench in the. Okay, so
in Scott Green's butthole. Let me get to this.
Yeah,
Let me get to this.
No,
So Sheriff Skiles, who's made no comments and attended one press conference out of the very limited and no press conference. Have you ever seen a case that has no ongoing press conferences of this regard? I mean, the idea of which is preposterous.
That's exactly. It's been 3 years since they've said a word.
No, I mean, right. And then when they were saying words, they were like, look, folks, we signed up for the Hitler Friends and Family Plan. Y'all can go fuck yourselves. Well, because they cut off media on the 23rd of November. Right, and then they even tagged in Dickhead for that, who retired shortly after. The guy who tased that baby down there in, I think that was in Troy, actually. Roger Lanier, he tased the baby. Don't tase me, bro. The baby couldn't even say that because it couldn't fucking talk yet. He tased it anyway.
Tase the baby?
I'm being a bit hyperbolic. He tased the father holding a baby.
Gotcha. Okay, I remember.
But the baby still wasn't old enough to scream, "Don't tase me, bro."
Even in dog, I won't blame me, bro.
So that's the 23rd of November, no more, right? And then they started doing, we'll do one-on-one pressers with like Brian Nitton and a couple other folks, but like according to some statements from journalists on Twixter at that time that didn't get in on the one-on-one program and were probably butthurt. They were like, we had to send in questions anyway. It was approved questions. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Why are they generating such a very tight-lipped narrative on this whole thing, right? And then after that, around December 20th, they even said, look, we're going to sign everyone up for the Hitler Friends and Family Program because everyone can go fuck themselves now. We're not even going to talk to anyone no more. We'll send you a printout, and we don't see Chief Fry again for 10 more days, right? Or 29th maybe. I think the 29th he goes on camera with a shit-eating grin, like, "Oh, we got some stuff.
Yeah, we're confident we got the right guy."
Yeah. So if you just evaluate that activity alone, that's very anomalous, right? Just that their media pressers and the way they acted, right?
You could almost call it. It's time for androgyny. Here's Pat.
You ain't kidding, man. So then we have the sheriff not saying nothing, right? We see Fry, Small Fry, he retires and runs against the sheriff. So seemingly they're in some sort of opposition.
Oh, true.
So we see the sheriff
they're not
now,
friends,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not. They don't get along, do they?
A little sidebar note on that is.
Well, I'm kind of hungry, so I'm gonna need a sidebar. You got any chocolate sidebars?
Did you bring any diabetes food today?
No, I just got the Mountain Dew. I'm kind of hungry though.
Fair enough. I'll give you a break here coming up because I got a fantastic grill. Jen's going to be joining us in about 25 minutes. She's got a couple guests, but she's excited to come on the show. And she brought a picture, a close-up of the shed that we were discussing on the last Purge. So I'm excited to have her talk about that. Yeah, excellent picture.
Well, if I may put a quick book in here, we got the current sheriff who responded to this Chuck Palahniuk father murder of this weird variety that seems to revolve around the trafficking of a poor man's yayo between Latah County and Missouri. And the whole scene's really ridiculous. The prosecuting attorney that did it, once it was all said and done, she retires to be the sausage queen of Alaska after 18 years at Latah County Prosecutor's Office, which I do find that a bit odd. Maybe she wanted to run away from some shit.
That's a long way. I mean, it's not that far from Idaho. It's not completely out of the question, but that's kind of a place that you disappear to, because
that's what I'm saying, right?
Unless you're trying to murder somebody, you're not going to track them down in Alaska.
I'm tracking with you're tracking with me, sir. So the then he goes on to do some other things in between, him being sheriff, as of 2016, right? And then 1999, he's he's the manager of a local burger establishment. I don't think they served any hula burgers, so that's my first objection. And then secondly, he's the chief of police at Troy. I got to go back and look. I think that Roger Lanier came from Troy PD. If I'm not mistaken, that's where that baby taser incident occurred, but I could be. It was one of the neighboring towns, but nonetheless, it's an odd trajectory. You're part of a scene to, at the time, one of the the biggest murder scenes in the state's history. Then you leave that to go take a burger job, and then you come back as the chief of police of a neighboring town, and then you get elected as sheriff. Now, the elected of sheriff aspect is not so much amongst the administration of the local town, but as the election of the people. So I have to assume that he may have the support of the people, but not amongst the administrators of the town.
That who has the support of the people? The sheriff?
Right.
Well, the sheriff won the race against Fry.
But you see what I'm saying though? Like if he's leaving, right, and going to do burger stuff, but then he only comes back under the guise of being elected by the people, right? You see what I'm saying? I'm not saying the guy's a hero. I'm saying it's an interesting dynamic.
Well, that was one. Just the point I was going to make is that it seems like the town was not happy with the way Fry handled, or the county wasn't happy with the way that Fry handled the case, and showed it by not voting him to sheriff, putting him out of a job, basically.
I don't disagree, sir. I don't disagree. So let's look to see who Scott Skiles, or whatever this guy's name, Richard Skiles. He promotes to chief deputy the guy who responded to that same, his former, he worked for 12 years as a deputy at Lev-e-O-Saw County, right? I think he left there it said 2003 or 2004. So not long after the murders, right around the same time the prosecutor's leaving in 2005. But nonetheless, his coworker is, his fellow deputy that he responded to that murder scene with, Chuck Palahniuk's father, and the weird, long haul trucker and the ex-wife from the online classified ad. Well, he promotes that dude to chief deputy. So obviously, like, these dudes have an ongoing and long-standing relationship.
I'm tracking what you're tracking if you're tracking me.
Yeah, like he's not the undersheriff, he's the chief guy on the road, right? You know what I mean? Like when you get an unruly, civilian folk, and they're like, "Yeah, give me your sergeant." Like he's like your sergeant.
The supervisor.
He's not the captain. Yeah, he's not the captain, but he's one step down, right? He's the as I would call the enlisted fellow that sits there, right?
Yeah, does the
road sergeant
actual work. So
you ain't kidding.
Okay, so when you start talking about now, there was a huge trafficking bust, I guess again in Texas. And what it's starting to look like to me is that you have remember I said earlier in the Mews, is that in Sinaloa, again, they were hanging the bodies from the side of the interstate or whatever.
Wait a second. You mean the guy they keep deporting out of Pullman and it keeps coming back to sell more yayo? That kind of Sinaloa? That one of the leaders of the Sinaloa, that is?
Yeah, and my point is that I feel this may have been a catalyst or part of an ongoing battle or feud, and it's now finally revealing itself where that was just like the spark, and now we're starting to see all types of crazy events just unfold right before our eyes.
You are correct, sir. You are correct.
Am I really making? That's a pretty good?
No, absolutely. There's absolutely There's a lot. That's what I was getting at before when we see Hurwitz joining board, dude. Like that's not an indicator of anything good going on behind the scenes. Like there's a lot of shit going on.
That is her. Yeah, Hurwitz is one of the most glaring examples that they know that they're in a bucket of shit, and they need a ladder to climb out. And
I realize it's a dark thought, but it's not so much particular to this situation, but just generally speaking in the politics and the circumstances and the environment of America right now. This recent incident in Minnesota, this recent flap in Minnesota, where some idiot tried to besmirch my name.
Yes.
By doing some sloppy work. I'm not saying these people didn't. Maybe they did. Maybe I'm not trying to get into. I'm not judging the wet work that was involved here. I'm just saying. He's going to use the name Vance. Do it right, son of a bitch. You know what I mean? How did they get this guy's name in the first place? You know what I mean?
They got it quick. Did you see how
They're like, oh, yeah, we saw him running away from the scene. He had a fake cop car. He's dressed as a cop. But we immediately, like the passport of the terrorists in 9/11 that landed intact and not burnt 5 blocks away from the World Trade. They immediately knew who this dude was. Like, we got him. Like Orenthal J. Simpson's DNA test that came back in less than 72 hours back in 1994. We got him. Busted.
That is a great example. I'm trying to pull up all the vehicles and see if you were familiar with if you remember the movie Stripes, they had the recreational vehicle in Germany that they commandeered for a weekend excursion. and that's what.
Did you hold on? May I interject here, sir? Did you actually ask me if I knew the film Stripe?
I was just for the sake of the audience and our viewers out there, JJ. I like to make sure everybody's in touch with the Bill Murray film set. And
I don't fault you for promoting Bill Murray's filmography here. I just I also want, for your sake and the viewers' edification, I just want to let you know that I insist upon doing our Abbott and Costello routine, whether you like it or not.
What was Sergeant? Were you ever a Sergeant Hulka Big Toe? And did you ever tell anybody to chill out, Francis?
No, because strangely enough, even during my military career, that film was not really well recognized.
Yeah, it has a cult following for sure.
Yeah. I had a lot of Black Hawk Down going on around me. You know what I mean? In fact, I actually served with two dudes from Black Hawk Down. Strangely enough.
How many people survived that whole thing?
Well, these guys weren't part of the Delta Force. I mean, most of the casualties were Air Force Special Forces guys and the pararescue and the Delta Force guys. I think they may have lost a couple of the Rangers. These guys were Rangers. So, funny, it's strange. I served with these two dudes, and they both outranked me. I was a brand new staff sergeant. And, I was a SWAT team leader over in Korea, in fact, and one of them was the kind of a mentor. He's a real crazy asshole, Sometimes I regret ever meeting the guy. Real nice guy though, real great guy. Real nice guy. He retired as a chief. He was a tech sergeant at the time, E6, so he retired as an E9, right? I was an E5, but he decided he needed to really break me in, so to speak, right? Like when I say break me in, him and this other dude wake me up in the middle, and this was my induction as the SWAT team leader on the base, right? Him and this other dude literally kidnapped me from my bed and get my roommate to let him in my room or whatever, my dorm room. And like, hey, we're going to go paint the wolf on top of the water tower. There's a big logo for the base logo, this wolf logo on the base water tower. It's like 2 a.m. He was like, we're going to go climb to the base water tower and paint that our squadron's color of black. I'm like, I'm not doing that. And they're like, I didn't have an option. Like, they literally just carried me out of there. So, and they much bigger, man. Again, former Army Rangers from Black Hawk Down. They decided to get out of the Army and came into the Air Force and became military police guys in the Air Force. And this is 8 years after. 9 years after the Black Hawk Down incident, right? So they've known each other for a while. So they were an interesting crew to know, you know what I mean? But when they were in the Army together,
real quick, did they ever teach you the ways of the Aunt Jemima treatment?
I'm not sure if I want to know what that is.
It's from Stripes. Remember when?
I don't remember that one.
When the MPs arrested them, he took the spatula and she was sitting on the stove. They're like, I'm going to give you the Aunt Jemima treat. It's a classic Bill Murray line. I think you're murking me right now.
Well, so here's the deal. Sometimes I mix up, and I realize I shouldn't, because it's not even remotely the same film, other than it's written by Harold Ramis, Stripes and Spies Like Us. So, you'll have to forgive me on my absence of knowledge on which one's which and which lines came from that, because these Black Hawk Down fellas. So you've seen the movie Black Hawk Down, right?
Sure.
So you have the guys that are doing security around the city, the Ranger elements. I think it was 75th Ranger Regiment.
Yeah, I feel like I was a part of it because I played the video game and all that stuff. So.
I thought I was a part of it just because I yelled Black Hawk Down a lot at these two idiots. So, me and my friends. So the guys that kidnapped me in the middle of the night and forced me to paint the water tower with them. Anyway, we got up there, we rappelled down, we painted the thing, and obviously, I'm sure the statute of limitations on this are over because no one was happy about it. So these two dudes were hilarious. That one dude was a tech sergeant. Like I said, he was kind of my mentor there. Phoenix Hanks was his name. Quite a name, right? Phoenix. I mean, he already sounds like a wild dude. And he was. Well, that's a different story. He and I responded with 2 other dudes to a downed F-16 and near the DMZ border in South Korea. An F-16 crashed. We had to go respond as the first responders to secure the scene. And there was a wild, 3 days in the jungle with Phoenix Hanks. I'll just leave it at that. So these two, he and the other guy's name is Greg Darby. So Darby and Hank. So Darby's Hank's supervisor when they're in the army together nearly a decade prior, right? Hanks was a brand new troop, and Darby was his supervisor. Fast forward 10 years, they link back up again as Air Force dudes that hadn't seen each other. They link up in Korea, and now Hanks is outranked is Darby's supervisor. So again, it was an interesting dynamic with these two all the time. But that's my Black Hawk Down tales. But there's a lot of Black Hawk Down era. I don't remember a lot of Stripes references though. My military career.
Yeah, that's one of my all-time favorite movies. That's a hard one to get confused with Spies Like Us if you rewatch it though, because it's a totally different operation.
If we're gonna go around, I understand, I recognize that. I acknowledged it. In fact, that it's a Harold Ramis is the only connecting principle. If we're gonna go around and start putting things under microscopes, Kane, nothing's gonna make sense,
We need a giant microscope for this case, and maybe a couple telescopes jammed up somebody's butt. There was a thing that I was on somebody else's show last night, and he kept asking me, do you really think that this thing's going to go to trial? And I said, it's 100% going to trial. And I'm about 99% sure that they're going to be able to convict him. And Lucy obviously asked me, how are they going to convict him with no real evidence? And I just had to.
I got two words for you: Rusty Shackleford or Dale Shackleford.
So Noelle knows what she's talking about, and I misquoted Noelle last time, so I apologize for that.
I don't want to.
You just earned your stripes, Noelle. A boom chugga lugga lugga, boom chugga lugga lugga, boom chugga lugga lugga, boom.
If I may interrupt your boom chuggas, I don't want to discredit the Princess of Darkness, the statements, because first of all, I don't want to get any more devil curses on me. Secondly, I would agree. Most cases, there's no fucking evidence. They're not going to do anything. But this is not most cases. And when you're dealing with matters of Idaho Contra, all bets are off. Well, I'm just saying that comparing to the cases from Iran Contra, right? And I've analyzed the number of those cases over the years where from different districts around different federal courts where they all do the same thing. Doesn't matter what's said, doesn't matter what evidence is had, they'll just give you the old 1-2 ass blast. You know what I mean? Happened to Freeway Rick Ross, happened to retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Chuck Hayes. You know what I mean? These people all went to prison for matters relative to the yayo trafficking of Iran and around Iran Contra with the same elements we see again here in the Idaho situation. Holy smokes! I need a hula burger break. I knew I needed something here.
Well, you know what? That I think we brought it pretty good to that as far as you brought it for sure. I'm just the pretty face here once again.
Well, here at the Purge, we like fast food news, type 2 diabetes talk, and the occasional Idaho4 case updates.
And a lot of the poor man's yayo in a donut.
Well, I mean, let's be honest about the situation. I mean, as much as I like to talk trash, I'm not condoning any of these activities, the trafficking, the drug abuse, anything like that, but America was far more productive on the yayo than it was on the brown yayo of the 90s, you know what I mean? We saw a marketed downturn in our economy and output come the influx of the brown yayo versus the old regular white yayo, if you know what I mean. I'm saying if we're going to have some influx of some sort of substances, let's at least get a productive one, right? Let's get some productivity going right here.
Gets people's feet. Well, nobody likes to communicate or connect with anyone anymore.
That's what I'm saying. The substances are wrong. If we're gonna do the substances here in America, let's get the right ones here. Let's get some productive substances here. Let's bring back the speed of the 1950s. You know what I mean? This kind of thing.
Maybe we need more of the what is it called, the Molly McRingwald or whatever or something.
You're getting a little. I'm saying let's just get it back to the basics. Get a little bit of that old school, Coca-Cola formula. The original soft drink.
Yeah, because they're gonna reintroduce one of the Coca-Cola flavors. Like, wow, I wonder if it's the original formula. The original formula was actually wine and it's whatever, and then because of prohibition, they had to take the wine out, so they replaced it with sugar water.
Clever tale. I would argue the prohibition tales are all to create these markets we're talking about and generate large sums of money to fund hood rat shit activities like we're seeing here in and around Idaho.
Yeah, I think that I forgot what my thought was on it. But
Schindler's List.
It'll come back to me here now because it looks like Jenn has obligations with her guests. So I'm just gonna I'll just play us out, and if my thought comes back to me, I'll pop back up. We have so many people here in the chat though. I appreciate you guys joining us on a Saturday night. Hopefully,
we're just getting started here at the Purge.
Yeah, no, we're only at 2 hours 7 minutes. People are gonna be lapping this one up. About 2 hour Purge. I'm gonna watch every second of it twice.
Oh, are we really done? I was just say. I mean, I'm good with that, but I had a couple more notes. You wanted to attack?
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear it. If you want to take a little break, I'll run the 10-minute reel, and you can get your.
Well, yeah, because I feel like there's a couple new things we discussed my shit, but there was a couple of new shits that I wanted to talk about with these new filings and whatnot.
Excellent, hell yeah. Okay, so let's do that. We'll stick around.
I know you mentioned it earlier, but I keep steamrolling you like right there.
I just didn't want to put all the pressure on you tonight, JJ. I
got time, man. I got time.
I did a Scientology live last night. I was hoping you would jump in the chat there. I was back down there in downtown Clearwater, and I'll tell you, the sidewalks close at 7 o'clock down there. There's not much action. There was nobody to ask if
I popped in for a bit. I was concerned about some of the pedestrians and other travelers on the roadway when you're streaming live like that, but it's,
Did you stick around for when it started pouring rain and I was still live stream driving?
No, I would have been very concerned at that point.
Dude, it was pouring, and I got lost kind of for a minute.
You're not making me feel better about the situation. You want to go eat a hula burger?
I get it from Willie every day. Willie's down my throat about me driving and filming. So I gotta get more of an attachment thing where I can do it without hands free,
Or you could just not stream while driving.
Yeah, that's another option, but it's not really on the table right now.
I mean, if you look at it one way, you're basically operating about a 3,000-pound missile, just waiting for impact while you're streaming while you're driving. And on that note, I'll see you after the break, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay. Oh, no, excellent. You leave me speechless. All right, if you missed the here, we're going to play the reel, and we're going to get back into some more current events with Mr. J.J. Vance Knight, the Vice President, and thank you for being here. If you're new to the Perks, please hit that subscribe button, jump on in the chat, hit that like for me. It just takes 2 seconds to get all this great information out into the algorithm beyond the creators that ride our pigtails. Alright, so here we go. We will be back in about 15 minutes. Maybe Jen will join us. Sometimes she plays with my head like this, so you never know. But here we go.
I'm already giving you some. A lot, all day. That's all you've been doing is begging for treats. Because they're in there. Someone left the cupboard open. You can see them all.
They couldn't substantiate a lot of the accusations being made. It was a bit of a relief, but it was also a bit disappointing because you realize that this was more political than it was real, and that this was a false narrative. False narrative. False narrative. False narrative. False narrative. False narrative.
Euphigenia Doubtfire, dear. I specialize in the education and entertainment of 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 entertainment.
I think they're being fed information, and they should be angry at this point too.
All the other doors in the house were open too. The doors where his owner lay slain.
So we have a strong drink that's a toast to the land, like our grandparents before us, with iPhone in hand.
Aubrey Justine Gonsalves.
Shaking. Oh, please, don't. No. No, please, no, don't. Oh my God. I think I'm in the middle of it. Oh my God, the trees are snapping everywhere. Oh.
And welcome to another episode of Bad Design. Today, I put myself in the middle. Much better. Don't let AI design your business logo. And if you do, say it with me. Show it to one 13-year-old boy.
United States of America, red, white, and blue. We'll rip your throat out, drink your blood, motherfucker.
I turned around at one point when I got up to the observation tower, and he had his pants completely down, was jerking off.
He had his shirt up. I was fully clothed the whole time.
The whole time?
Yes, sir.
All right, and when you had your phone, were you taking pictures of him or anything like that?
Yes, sir. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I take pictures of people. Not unless I get permission from somebody to take a picture of them. No.
Take a picture of you too.
You got my first Karen.
You too.
Literally walked into my house.
I know I'm walking to your house.
It's amazing.
I know, it is amazing. And we're going to report you. I'm now going to report this to the owner because this is too much. She wants you this all the time.
Feel free.
You don't want people to come in and don't write entrance.
Why do you hate music so much?
Third floor. Because you guys have been doing this all the time.
Hey, you could have just knocked on the door and go there and you would have told me.
Oh, no. We did. You guys didn't hear it. I want a voice.
Did you say?
I said I'll let you go if you come to the bar right down the street with me. My ex-wife is there. She's a bitch. Hold my hand for 5 minutes, pretend to be my girlfriend. Let's make that bitch jealous.
Okay.
Yeah, see? It's so easy. Come on, just hold my hand for
Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Rocco, go lay down.
No.
Say hello.
Morning.
Hello.
Yeah, I love you.
Can you say no?
All right, can you say your name? Luna. That was perfect.
I love you.
Say, I love you.
Good.
It's all bullcrap the way they sell Florida to the outsiders. Listen to the words, listen to the language. Luxury style carbon copied homes from our artisan collection. Luxury style apartment and townhome. And luxury RV parks. They'll name these things after what was there, like Orange Grove Estates, Starkey Ranch. You folks from out of state really think you're going to come to Florida and live on a ranch? There's 500,000 other suckers out there that bought into that master plan wet piece of property. And for the same price you paid to live in Starkey Ranch, you could have went to another state and bought you an actual ranch and had peace and quiet. And then they'll name the streets Tangerine Terrace, Orange Blossom Avenue. And they'll build all this crap on 2-lane country roads, and they'll go ahead and flood it with new cars and traffic. They'll back up the interstate too, and the ones that approve the deal will go ahead and approve dynamic tolling. Well, that's the kind of thing they made fun of New York for congestion pricing on their roads. We have dynamic tolling in Florida. Sounds a lot better.
The airport here in San Diego has a lactation. The airport here in San Diego has a lactation room, and I didn't know what lactation meant when I went in the first time.
Yo, KB, is that the name you claim? Rolling through genres, let me play this game. Rap like a madman, Eminem with the slang, spitting bars so sharp like a rap hangman. From YouTube fame to Idaho's wild ride, you're breaking it down, putting truths aside. Kane B got the purge, no doubt he's the king, breaking down the case like a YouTube machine. Kane B the purge, bringing heat in the booth. Facts on the table, there's no room for proof. Throwing down lyrics while the world's watching. Is it guilty or free? That's the question we're knocking. Kane B the purge, taking Idaho by storm. He's got the heat and the truth breaking the norm. We're all glued to this case, no one's letting go. Will Brian be guilty or will he be let go? Kane B's in the game, watch him lay it all bare. Will justice find the truth or just disappear in the air? Here's my bubblegum pop, you ready or not? Kane B's in the mix with the case so hot. Rap, rock, pop, he's switching it up. Dancing through the genres like a YouTube cup. Got Kane B, the purge, putting the story in flow. Breaking it down with humor, watch the case blow. Boom, Kane B's riding with electric groove. Breaking it down, yeah, he's on the move. He's got the purge, so come and watch him reign. Sipping on knowledge like it's truth on a train. Kane B the purge, taking Idaho by storm. He's got the heat and the truth breaking the norm. We're all glued to this case, no one's letting go. Will Brian be guilty or will he be let go? Kane B's in the game, watch him lay it all bare. Will justice find the truth or just disappear in the air? Now here I am, R&B vibes on deck. Let's get a little smooth, but don't forget, I'm bringing humor, I'm bringing the sound. But this case got us all spinning round. KB with the truth, it's hard to ignore. Like waiting for that next chapter in the lore. It's hard to ignore, like waiting for that next chapter in the lore.
False narrative. False narrative.
All right, are you guys still with us here? We're back on the purge, and there's the real. I think Meg P missed. I thought that one part was pretty cool with the backwards and the way, you know. And she missed it again. Where did Meg P go? What is she doing? She checking in for attendance and then playing hooky on me? I can't keep up with these kids these days. Get off my lawn. Get off my lawn. Okay, let's see. Yeah, we had the protesters. You guys probably saw the footage from that. Kate, here's my brain processing this. What are we going to do? I know we got a lot more to talk about here, you guys. So I hope you're having a terrific weekend. It's been going well for me. We'll get the guitar back on Monday, so the next purge should be able to do some shredding for you. I hope Scott Metalhead will be here to enjoy that. I don't know if he's still with us in the chat. Thanks for joining us, West H. Always nice to have you here. To Rock Steel Hawk. And Too Fast have also joined us. And your favorite uncle. I believe out of JJ's, on JJ's side, or maybe he's half Browser on his mother's side. I don't know. Maybe he's only a quarter Browser. So Angel D also still with us, and Tanel Ray. Thanks for having. I don't know how many people. I don't look at the thing while we're live or whatever, so they don't show you in OBS. Maybe there's a thing to do that. I don't know. I'm gonna have to take some OBS lessons. You notice Miss Potts is just listening and watching today. She's not chatting. She's afraid that I'll ask her to come back up here. Hi, Miss Potts. I love you, darling. And she surprised me on the last live because I didn't know that she was live because I was getting the purge ready, and then she's like, I'm like, yeah, we're jonesing for more Miss Potts, and she's like, it's okay, Kane, I just did a live. I'm like, don't. I think the first one I missed. I would probably fit in there. What are you guys talking about? Where? I don't know. What am I? What are we gonna do? Swamp Rose is watching. Let's see here. So yeah, thanks for everybody here. If you're lurking or watching, if you're first time to the purge, please hit that subscribe button. Remember our animal friends, Lucy Morningstar, Jenn from At Criminal Confidential, and also the human ones like me. I'm the pretty face of the show, Kane B, and I'll be walking you through this. What do we call it, JJ? The shenanigan infused Jenn, and I just lit JJ back up to be able to join us at any point if he would like. I think I have to move him though. I might have to clone him. Let's see. Yep, I knew it. I knew. How many JJs do you guys think that we could get? Let's get some JJs up in here. He won't know. I'm just really technically only cloning the Meowery report at this I hear a microphone back there. Where is
this the purge?
Hello.
Are we purging?
Welcome to the purge, sir. So, technically, I haven't talked to you about this. In Florida here, we were issued a license to drive by Governor DeSantis saying that if anybody surrounded your car or impeded your progress as one of these violent protesters, that you were allowed to run them over. So I called it.
I seen that. I mean, everyone just needs to take it down a notch on both sides.
Well, no, they escalated it because I think the Lee County sheriff said that if you do anything to a police officer, we're going to kill you graveyard dead. That was his exact quote, allegedly.
Typical.
And so I'm like, this is the first annual purge. And, you saw me in Nick's chat where I said, JJ and I are the new founding fathers. If you've ever seen the movie, I'm referring to the movie. It was funny.
I've actually never seen it. Is it worth watching?
The Purge?
Yeah.
All right. Do you want to get... I'm blocking Lucy for 10 seconds for that, just for that comment.
You do that.
I might give her a full minute.
Just be careful. She is the Princess of Darkness. She is capable of wielding an ungodly amount or anti-godly amount of power.
I hit her for... I just hid all of her comments from the whole night. Well, there goes the chat replay, folks. Thanks for playing.
You're going to get cursed from that one.
I meant to time her out.
I hear what you're saying with all this Purge stuff.
Did you just ask me if The Purge was a good movie? I mean, I'm not referring to somebody's eating disorder. I'm talking about the actual You don't know what I say when I'm saying the founding... Are you Abbott and Costello with me right now, bro?
Yeah, well, I've seen parts of it. I'm familiar with the story.
The first one was... Okay, so are you familiar with that movie where everybody dies? And then nobody... The people that survived have death chasing after them. What's it called?
Yeah, alive. Yes. Well, here's the deal. If you want a story about Ethan Hawke, I'm not a big Ethan Hawke fan, but if you want an Ethan Hawke story, I'm happy to share it with you.
Maybe for another purge, JJ. The JJ meter just.
That's why
just
I was hoping to deter the conversation. Thank you. So, back to what I was saying. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm tracking JJ.
No, well, what are your thoughts on this Florida situation? Because I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of any of this nonsense.
I gave a dissertation on it at the beginning of the show. If you missed it, I said.
No, I heard it. But what I mean, like, you know, I don't know.
Let me. It's
I
all a
my
psyop,
response to your
JJ.
statements. Why I don't disagree.
I think my take on it is that you have in the violent areas paid protesters to go out there, and they're the same characters that you have over and over, just like in my little post there. But you know, you have like I would submit that Soros and these type of socialist people allegedly are.
I like where your head's at.
Trying to drive something along those lines, and
good go. I like where you're at. You know, so you're looking at some lefty infiltration of America, some psyops to stoke civil discord.
Well, that's my second is you have
a Manson family style helter skelter, if you will.
Do I need to bring the gooch out into this?
Are we getting into the gooch here, bud? We doing gooch stuff?
Where is the gooch? I think Twiz has the gooch.
I like where your head's at. So I actually talked about a lot of this last night on my Friday's show. You know, I went over this with my guest Phil Zazzaro. If you think I got a lot of details, holy smokes, Phil Zazzaro, that's a man with a lot of details.
I caught some of that live. I was driving, but I was listening to my phone a little bit here and there.
Well, towards the end of it, I closed it back around on old Yayo Bob, Elvis Presley. Yeah, they're connected. And Charles Manson. Yeah, they all knew each other. And the Full House executive producer who bought that residence at Cielo Drive, tore it down, kicked Marilyn Manson out of the old home of the Tate murder scene from the Manson family.
Why did you have to kick him out? What did Marilyn do?
Well, him and Trent Reznor were living in there, in the doing music in the La Pig Studios, named after the murders.
Yeah.
And they're both part of the Neo Process movement, Reznor and Manson, self-proclaimed and self-professed. They would later leave that home and go set up shop in New Orleans, the worldwide headquarters of the Process Church of the Final Judgment, as per their corporate documents. But the point being is, I was talking about Jodie Sweetin, the Full House actress, how she's at the front and center of all these LA protests, right? And I said, well, you know what?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Rose McGowan, I was going to bring her into the mix.
That's a good one. She's right there. She's Manson's ex-girlfriend, Marilyn Manson, that is, and she grew up in a cult that I would argue has a lot of process connections. The Children of God. It was a sex cult where she grew up along with folks like the Phoenix family, like Rivers Phoenix and Joaquin Phoenix.
Yeah, I knew. I used to work with River Phoenix, one of his cousins, one of his 1,000 cousins, at Starbucks. Cult?
Were they also in that cult?
The whole family is.
Right. So Rivers Phoenix says he lost in an interview he gave in, I think it was 1992. He says he lost his virginity at the age.
At the age of 8, did you say?
3.
That's the purge tonight, folks. Everybody, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for coming. We appreciate you being here.
I just make that statement to make the point that is the ethical and moral compasses of these cults, the folks in these cults. So I see Jodie Sweetin up there. I'm like, well, that makes sense. Process people got to process, right? Because it's the executive producer of Full House that buys that property, rebuilds a new structure on that Cielo Drive property that was the site of the Tate murders there of the Manson family. And it is Jeff Franklin, the executive producer of Full House, who would build a new home, rent it back out to Marilyn Manson, and he put an Elvis Presley museum at the basement of it. So you may be thinking, what's Elvis Presley have to do with Charles Manson and Yayo Bob and gang? Well, and Polanski and Tate, the Gooch factor, if you will. Well, that's because Elvis knew all those folks. So one of the other victims there at that murder scene was a fellow by the name of Jay Sebring. He was Sharon Tate's former fiance and best friend, and the hairstylist to the Starrs. He was also deep in the drug trade, which was the center of those murders in the first place. And according to a INS and Immigration Nationalization Services investigation report of the time, John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas was largely financing the process. Him and Mama Cass were largely financing the Process Church activities around this time, along with folks like Brian Wilson, the Beach Boy. Right? I'm sorry, not Brian. Brian Wilson just died. I'm sorry. Wait, yeah. What was
Dennis Wilson?
Dennis Wilson, thank you. The one that died back in 1980. Yeah. So, but yeah, Brian Wilson just died this week. So
can I add something to that?
Please.
The Brian Wilson passing was a total Mandela effect because I thought it was him that had drowned in the 80s. Goes to show you what I know about music, I guess. But I'll sit here and argue with you about it. That Brian Wilson drowned 20, 30 years ago.
I always get them, well, much like my Bill and Bill Paxton conflations, I get the Wilson brothers mixed up. But nonetheless, they were deeply involved with Charles Manson, the Beach Boys, right? Dennis financed them, according to that report. The Mansons lived at his house there, and I believe it was Benedict Canyon, not Laurel Canyon, but the next canyon over there in Beverly Hills from the infamous Laurel Canyon scene. Nonetheless, the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson allegedly, by all accounts and all legends, died with unreleased Charles Manson recordings in his vaults, his personal vault, as the legend goes. So when he died this week, I'm assuming that died with him. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of his music that is going to go with him because they pretty much stopped tapping that resource right after Pet Sounds. Because he got so wild out there, allegedly.
Yeah, and these are the stories that were told. However, Pet Sounds, it's largely attributed to this giant, masterful effort by Brian Wilson, but I would argue all of their sound, much like everybody else, is a result of Phil Spector, the infamous producer, and had the studio band, the Wrecking Crew, that did all the recordings for all these.
Yeah, Wrecking Crew is insane. Tommy Tedesco and all those guys.
Yep. But it is Phil Spector who I allege is a member of the Process, given his relations.
Phil Spector's as creepy as a villain as you could ever invent, right? Wild.
And he owned all this music. He was the producer of even the Beach Boys. He owned Pet Sounds, right?
And he did all that stuff, and then he's like, I'm just going to go to Europe. Fuck you. I'm leaving.
Well, now he's in prison.
Now he is, but he certainly floated for a long time for an unaliving.
He had that cash, right? So anyhow, the Manson situation is deep within the Beach Boys, and they even released one of his songs. I think it was on Pet Sounds. Never Learn Not to Live.
Marilyn Manson's song.
Charles Manson's song.
Oh, Charlie. Yeah, okay.
Never Learn Not to Love. It was on the 1969 album.
Yeah, apparently he wasn't a bad musician. I don't know.
2020. Neil Young said he was the best that he'd encountered. I tend to agree with Leonard Skinner in regards to Neil Young, but nonetheless, Manson was part of the scene. He's part of the Beach Boys big time. So Terry Melcher was living there at the Tate Plant before Tate and Polanski, right? And he was in Terry Melcher Process Church. He was in tight with Manson. That's why Manson and him were real tight. And Melcher's kind of the extra Beach Boy. In fact, the infamous song Kokomo, that was written by the Beach Boys and Terry Melcher.
That was the JJ meter going off. The
bing, 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 bing,
ding, ding, ding.
You mean to bring that point to a close here with the Mansons and the Beach Boys?
If you like, yeah, put it on the pin of a head.
So we see Beach Boys in the Full House shows. We see the executive producer around this whole situation.
Can I say something before I forget? Before you get your wheels rolling again, with the Full House situation, that TV show from the 80s, you have a lot of kind of odd stuff coming out of there in addition to the owner buying the Manson property. That's really wild. But then you have like the dad of the Full House cast, the actual dad, Bob Saget. And he was, America's Dad, Mr. Wonderful. And then as soon as he leaves the show, he starts this dirty comedy routine. You know, like
but he was doing that
like
before, though.
the
That's
shock
kind of the
jock.
dark nature of that, right?
Yeah, that does. And then there's also kind of allegations with the Olsen twins and maybe Harvey Weinstein or something like that. Some kind of situation like that connected to it. Am I right or wrong?
Right. Well, no, you're 100% correct. And Bob Saget had that blue comedy before the show. That's the dark nature of even putting him on that show, right? So I would argue some dark shit went on that set, man. Look at Jodie Sweetin. I was saying before, she's at the front of these protests today, right in L.A.
Right.
She had a real poor man's yayo problem, lost all of her teeth, etc. Was home.
What character was she? We lost JJ. JJ down, folks. JJ down. There you are.
Yeah, not only is the producer connected to Yayo Bob,
Are you okay? Did you injure an elbow? Are you code 4?
I'm good. I'm good. Can you hear me?
I think JJ had to take a 10-200. He's at the plot bomb machine. He'll be right back. Serious situation here, folks. We'll get JJ back in just a second. I told him to turn it off and turn it back on again. So that's happening right now. And I wanted to pull up a couple of stuff like I always do for you guys here.
Purge?
Purging. We're purging, doing the usual thing. Nothing crazy.
Point, but I was just, I mean, Bob Saget's a dark character, right? A lot of weird stuff, I think, going on in that set.
Who was the producer? Now, the guy that bought Manson's house. Let me put that into the conversation of a 3-year-old, like Jesse will say.
He bought the Cielo Drive home where the Tate Polanski murder scene of the Manson family
And he
occurred.
was the guy behind the show.
He's executive producer and creator, yes, sir.
Okay, so he's got his dirty little fingers in a lot of dirty little pies, am I right?
If you mean Dirty Little Pies, if you mean Yayo Bob's friend, yes. Yes.
Ah.
You can see, can you see the image I'm sharing right now?
I was actually pulling up a slideshow. It'll take 2 seconds.
No.
Is it a dick pic?
You'll see Yayo Bob appearing with all the cast members of Full House, the adult cast members.
Oh my gosh. And they're all partying with him or something?
Just over the years, they go to events together.
All right, let me get the slideshow.
The picture you're looking at right here.
Hold on. Close that. Save it. There you go. Hold on. Nobody can see anything. I got it blocked.
I'm actually watching on YouTube. I can see it right now.
Okay. Here we go. Okay, so that's John Stamos. There's Yayo Bob. And then the girl that tried to buy her girl into college or whatever, right?
Yeah. Do you know? Well, there's a lot more to that scandal. But do you know what that event is they're attending?
Let me take a guess. Let me don't. Is it a what's on second or I don't know who's on third?
It's the first annual Hollywood Hula Burger Fest. That picture is the second annual Graydon Carter. What's that?
You just broke me. Like, if I had an internet right now, it would be broken.
That's what we like to do here at The Purge. We like to break things. We like to talk fast food. And we like to talk Yayo Bob. So Yayo Bob here is attending with the Full House folks Graydon Carter's second annual fundraiser for the Graydon Carter Association.
Graydon Carter.
You may know that name. He's the owner of Airmail and founder of Airmail. He's the founder and president of Airmail. He employs Howard Bloom in the propaganda campaigns.
Are you trying to blow my dirty little mind again?
I am, yes, sir.
Full roundhouse kick to my head.
You know me. I'm doing my ninja skills. You're gonna get hit like a brick wall because
when I called you out on nerding out, I hit the beep button on you.
Yep.
And you do this to me. All right.
Yes, sir.
Wait a second. We're talking about Full House here, bro. How dare you?
That's what I'm saying, dude. If they presented this happy situation, I imagine it's just as dark on the back end.
That's okay. So that lends gullibility to my theory that I keep saying: the prettier the face, the darker the motive, or the darker
100%.
the heart.
Let's ruminate on that for a moment. So when we see Jodie Sweetin doing some process stuff, I say process folks are going to process at these protests. We see all the Yayo Bob Manson connections there with the Full House situation, right? the gooch factor, if you will. But the smiling face and the dark heart, let's look at old Gavin Newsom here relative to those California matters, right? This here is Gavin Newsom, current governor. That man right there next to him is supposed to be his father. What do you think? Is that his dad? Right? So you were talking about socialist kind of invasions and of America and all this other stuff. And I said you were spot on. So I think you are spot on. So this is Gavin Newsom's dad, supposedly. This is Gavin Newsom's dad's mentor.
That's Schindler's List?
You are spot on, sir. Former SS officer Otto von Bolschwing.
That's a fun name to say. Otto von Bolschwing. Otto von, it just flows off of the tongue. It's guttural.
Yeah, on paper, Newsom's dad, Willie Newsom, was his attorney, and he's also the Getty's attorney. The Getty family, that is.
Like in Getty Images?
Or Getty Oil, yeah, or the Getty Foundation, the Getty Museum, or J. Paul Getty, or Balthazar Getty, and a lot of Gettys.
Spaghetti
so you
Getty?
mean to tell me that
was the little-known brother, Spaghetti Getty. He was the really bad one.
I think they got him lobotomized there with Rosemary Kennedy at that mental institution.
I think they got him on top of old Meatball. I think that's how he went down. It was just noodles flying everywhere. Hey, noodles! I'm gonna get the papers. Get the papers.
This guy's got the brain of noodles. So what do you think? You think that Willie Newsom or Otto von Bolschwing's his father? What do you think?
Otto von Bolschwing. What's the other choice?
We got Willie Newsom right here. Willie Newsom.
That guy, I've seen him in a lot of movies. Right. He has a very familiar face. Is he an actor?
Attorney for the Gettys.
He's just a rich guy.
The white-haired fella, his name is William Newsom. He's allegedly the father of the other guy right there, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah, who's the president of California, right?
He's the president of being a douchebag, yes. And the white-haired fellow who's allegedly his father was the attorney for the Gettys, the personal attorney for the Getty family, and he was the attorney, and this guy was his mentor, former SS officer Otto von Bolschwing. Bullshit. So Bullshit gets found out as a former SS officer in 1981. And then he died shortly thereafter. But between the war and 81, he was deeply associated the entire time with Willie Newsom here. So you mean to tell me that that's Gavin's dad, or do you mean to tell me Otto von Bullshit here is Gavin's dad?
I got the answer. I know the answer now. It's Jerry Brown. Jerry Brown is his father.
Oh man, you know the author Ed Sanders of the book The Family on the Manson Family. He has a deep file on how Jerry Brown was a member of the Process Church of the Final Judgment.
So other people actually have written books on this. I would like to take one of those books and read it on a show one time about the just maybe some of the key takeaways in literature about.
I'll do you one better, sir. I'll do you one better, sir. Well, I'll bring you the chapter that was sued out of existence in America on the process from that same book from Ed Sanders. And I'll bring you the file on Jerry Brown from his files.
I would love to see both of those.
Yeah, he's still alive. He's in his 80s, but he's or late 80s. He donated all of his files to Princeton University a few years ago.
How is that important?
Well, that's important because the process has already stolen the good stuff out of there.
His files, like the Nixon tapes. What kind of?
Yeah, well, no. So Ed Sanders started investigating the Process Church, the Final Judgment, and the Manson family, which was a component of it in 1970.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles. He's attending the trial. He was a beat poet out of Greenwich, New York. So he's out of the East Coast kind of beat poet scene that Bob Dylan comes from, right? So he knew people in that scene out in L.A. So he got himself in there, started investigating the shit, and wrote a book about it. And the Process Church.
JJ down. All right, so he'll be back in just a sec here, I think. What was I going to say? See, every time JJ lets me interrupt one of the stories, I prove how dumb I am. And then I have to sidetrack him. Okay, so we're still on. We have JJ Vance here from Operation GCD podcast there. Please hit that subscribe button over there and hit that like for me here. We're going to be joining JJ on Wednesdays and Fridays at least.
Is
He's
this
a
the
busy,
purge?
busy man. Yes, sir. Welcome in. Happy Army Flag Day.
Happy Army Flag Day. I'm also doing Operation GCD Sundays on my Patreon, which is true. Tales of true crime and high weirdness from my adventure, my GCD adventures.
I wasn't sure if you were doing Sunday because I almost postponed this show to Monday because I literally had to scramble to do all my things today. You know what a busy guy
I got
am.
a real barn burner. I got a real barn burner coming up tomorrow night. The Legend of Nathaniel Bar Jonah.
Bar Jonah. All right, well, join us for that. If somebody would please put a link for JJ's channel for anybody new that's watching that wants to subscribe to his channel. And we're both also on Rumble. Just put rumble.com/username or /user and then our name, Operation GCD. What is it now? What do we call it now? Operation Purge? Or is it...
I mean, we could, I suppose. I don't know if we formally addressed this.
Kane B, GCD. Yeah, so I was telling the staff here how, when I sidetrack you, how quickly I make myself look stupid. We were on
Here's the deal. Here's the deal, sir. If I may say one more comment on the process business, I will bring those chapters and those files for a future purge so we can discuss.
That'd be tight.
And I also have Operation GCD Thursday starting this Thursday. The Anatomy of a Satanic Panic.
Oh, that's going to be a good one. I'm excited for that one. They,
do you know who this character is?
Right there, that's Oliver North.
It's not far off. So they definitely knew each other. Him and North did. That's Lieutenant Colonel U.S. Army Michael Aquino. He's the inventor of PSYOPs and Mind War, right? He's also we're talking about PSYOPs tonight. He's also the guy who was the number 2 in the Church of Satan and started the Temple of Set, his own version of Satanism.
So he was the intelligence in military.
He was the guy for the Special Forces Green Berets out of Fort Bragg that invented how to do Mind War.
Wow. Wow, there he is. If we're going to blame anybody or we're going to worship anybody, there he is.
I think he's a large part of it. Yeah, I think he's a large part of it.
So anyway, you did a full roundhouse kick to my head and sent me back into Kane poo-poo land when you started with this whole Full House ticket. So you're saying that Joey did the Idaho4 allegedly? It was
First
Joey.
of all, get it out of here. Whatever happened to Dave Coulier? Is he still with us?
I think he's the one that Alanis Morissette wrote "Jagged Little Pill" about. That's all I know. Oh no, wait, that was Jeff Daniels. Never mind. I always get those two confused.
You're right. You told me that the other day, and I looked it up, and I was like, all right, well there you go. I didn't know that.
Yeah, they actually released that information after 20 years on the Curb Your Enthusiasm Larry David show.
You know, I say a lot of negative things about Canadians, but I will say this: Alanis Morissette, she's aged well. I mean, she's still, she's still got.
Yeah, I saw a live show of hers on YouTube like yesterday, and she's still kicking ass. And she was always kind of hot. She's just like kind of a little new.
Oh, but she wasn't ugly. I'm just saying she's aged well. You know, some of them stars that do a lot of them yayo's and whatnot.
Oh yeah, like you were talking about the Full House girl, right? I was trying to figure out what character she
she's
played.
Younger than I am, bro, and she lost all of her teeth at a time. I'm like, man.
Who are you talking about though? Which character, JJ?
The middle one, the middle sister.
What's her name?
Stephanie.
Oh, that one. Really?
Yeah, dude. After the show, she was an MTV, like Canada's MTV VJ host. And she got into doing the poor man's yayo real bad, and then she was homeless, lost all of her teeth.
Look at how battered all those child stars are. Like the girl from Miranda Cosgrove's show, whatever is that? iCarly. Remember that Sam girl? And look at what she went through in Hollywood with Nickelodeon. That's another child factory over there, I'll tell you.
Are you familiar with the actress Amanda Bynes?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
So I mean, I'm not saying that Dan Snyder did not have a lot to do with.
Did you know that?
Who?
She went from porn to Hollywood again.
Who?
Lindsay Lohan. She. I think you actually had it up in one of your lives or something like that.
Yeah, something ain't right with that girl, Kane. Something ain't right with that girl.
Not from the beginning. And
no, dude, you remember like 4 or 5 years ago, there was a video that popped up on Instagram, her own Instagram. I think she went Instagram Live. She starts speaking like I think Farsi and trying to kidnap a child over in like fucking Libya or some nonsense.
Wow, that's right. Man, last night we were talking about Antonio Brown got arrested, and then another topic. Well, just to get off the Idaho4 thing for a second. Was the YouTube Vegas thing you've seen the video by now, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, straight out of Central Casting, Kane.
It is the craziest thing I've ever seen play out. And I can't deny, bro, when you see it, you can't unsee it. And when you first said, yeah, these people are straight out of Central Casting, the rusty gears on my head got like a couple drips of oil in there. And I was like, more oil. And I was like, holy shit, you're right, dude. It's like, and you've even given examples of people going from psyop to psyop and just playing different characters. You know, like, again, here's another confusing element. Now that we see Emily and she's talking, I at first I thought that was Bethany. You know, because we don't know these people, and you know, so there's like clonage going on everywhere.
I'm sorry. Wait, are you cloning me, King?
I was gonna. Damn it, busted, bro.
No, when you're talking about these actors, then here's a blast from the past. I just posted a link. If you want to play it, you're welcome to, but folks can check it out. He's known as the Harley Davidson guy. He solved the entire mystery surrounding the collapse of the World Trade Centers within an hour or two. The dust is not settled in the camera interview you see there on the street outside the scene. He solved the entire thing. It would take NIST, the National Institute of Science and Technology, 7 years to make the same conclusion this guy did within about 15 minutes.
I'll have to watch that. I probably would get a strike playing somebody else's stuff.
What he's implanting these ideas we would later learn, but he's implanting everyone's subconscious within moments of the disaster.
With the steel beams and the whole thing.
Yeah, well, no, he concludes he's wearing a Harley Davidson shirt. He's known as the Harley Davidson guy. He concludes that they introduced him as a quote unquote freelance Fox News photographer. He concludes that it's the fires just got too hot for the structural beam and compromised the integrity of these towers, and they collapsed. Like, again, NIST would take years to make that same conclusion. It's a wrong conclusion. It's clearly false. So I'm just saying, Harley Davidson man here on the scene with the dust hadn't settled on the scene that day on 9/11/2001, and he's already solved the mystery for folks.
Well, wasn't he cellmates? Who were we talking about again? The Harley guy was cellmates with another guy.
Schindler's List.
Umbrella Man, not Umbrella Man. Shit, I had a good one. It's over. I think that's it, folks. That's a good. No, I'm just kidding.
Now you're making good points though about all these activities we're seeing, and that's how I kind of view the Vegas situation, right?
Yeah, the Vegas situation has enough to base a movie on. It's layered, it's got legs, it's thick, and it's running. And
I mean, I hate to quote Witness Protection Larry, but he does say this is a hoax.
That was the name I was trying to think of. Witness. Do we share the same? Oh my gosh, you're the one beaming the dreams into my head. Oh no.
Yes, sir.
Wow, I need to start wearing a tinfoil hat.
Green.
Are you the father? He's not the father. Witness Protection Larry, and it would have been funny, and you were waiting for me to say it. I felt like the anticipation was there, and then I went to a different guy this time, and I don't have a chance. There's nothing left. Anyway, so yeah, Witness Protection Larry. Okay, I see where the show, like, if I had been cool, would have just kept the wheels rolling. But anyway, so when you talk about organizations having a pretty face, so you have, and I hate to even use the word because people love them so much, but like the Shriners, the Masons, the
they put on
Friends
that
of
happy face,
Animals.
don't they?
I'm sorry?
They put on that happy face we were talking about, don't they? Just like witness protection Larry here. He's got a big smile and 2 thumbs up.
You literally could not make anything funnier. I wish I'd used that as a thumbnail. That is epic.
That's his crew behind him. You don't want to mess with witness protection Larry. He's got a roving band of Muppets that'll get you.
3 foot tall security. Oh man. Well, okay, so, and then you have Hollywood, which, even though we know all this dark crap goes on constantly behind the scenes, the only way they're seen in public is in these glamorous lights, behest the occasional raccoon eye or whatever that they get, or panda eye, and now you have literally a connection with this executive producer of America's Family, and then buying the Tate Polanski house, right?
Yeah.
And then
we're talking the Gooch factor. I like it.
You have Marilyn Manson tied in. Gooch's dad's there. All right, now take me.
Gooch's dad. Gooch's dad ostensibly investigates that murder.
Fast forward to 2022 November, and hop in your time capsule and tell me who's running this shit. It's nobody's running.
You know my honest answer?
Here's before you answer your answer, let me answer my answer.
Let me answer your answer before I answer my answer.
Maybe you should. That's probably a better art. Go ahead. Let's try that.
You answer your answer before I start answering answers that you answer.
I'll approach that cautiously. Code 4. Proceed.
I'm going to continue to act dumb until I figure out where you're going with this, sir. Please continue.
I'm not going to answer my answer till you answer your answer now, because I'm convinced that my answer is going to probably be somewhat biased to your answer. So let's see what your answer is without any previous rebuffing, if you don't mind.
You just asked who's running it, right? And again, Yayo Bob's a figure in a larger scheme. He's just a character in these mixes and messes. So, and obviously the Yayo is an underlying component of that, which I would argue is the same as here. So, as I call this Idaho Contra, I compare it to Iran Contra. Iran Contra was run out of the National Security Council, out of the White House, by a small element of intel operatives from the Navy, Air Force, CIA, Army, specifically Army Special Forces, and a Marine logistical element, which is why I said it's interesting. The sheriff was a former Marine. I'd like to know if he worked in logistics. He is of age to fall within the latter half of this military assistance command, the same military assistance command that is connected to Ruby Ridge, the white nationalist compound through various domestic terror campaigns of the last few decades, that Mark Furman's friends up there in Sandpoint, right next to Rathdrum. As Lucy Morningstar points out, Rathdrum and Rathdrum and Hayden Lake, where the Nazi compound of these domestic terror events have been hatched out of over the years, is closer than Pullman and Moscow are to each other. So it's right there where these victims are from. But that being said, we see Ruby Ridge with the incident there. That guy was connected to those same white nationalists there. He was also connected to that same element out of Fort Bragg and the Material Assistance Command. So the Material Assistance Command of Vietnam that we see dealing drugs in a fictional format in the film Lethal Weapon, right? The Project Phoenix, CIA, Army Special Forces guys are dealing drugs in Los Angeles in the film, Lethal Weapon. Well, sadly, that was actually going on in Los Angeles at the time of that film was taking place. So these are, strangely, I'm not saying it's a documentary, but those are real world events that were actually taking place contemporary to that film. And that is this element of the Vietnam, like as seen in the film, this Material Assistance Command that continues on. So the man who creates Material Assistance Command was the former CIA director, Bill Colby. And he was also the guy who created the Phoenix program of these assassins. He's the guy that oversaw Air America with all the drug trade we discussed, right, through the coffins at Fort Bragg and so on and so forth, and continuing on. He also established before that something called Operation Gladio, which is a campaign of domestic terror events in Italy after World War II, which to control the society and pass laws to restrict liberties, right? So if you picture the ideas of Gladio coming home and Phoenix program coming home at the same time where Bill Colby takes command of the CIA at home and gets promoted to director of the CIA there. You know, a lot of this stuff starts making sense when you look at the serial killer campaigns and all this what we later call Iran-Contra, this hood rat shit, trafficking of drugs, humans, guns, and killing folks in their version of events, raising money to fight communism. I argue that's bullshit, but we're still dealing with the same stuff here. And when I'm saying Bill Colby created all these things, we're looking at these same programs being run out of, I would argue, the same National Security Council of Colonel Oliver North, as you mentioned, Kane, and from Iran-Contra, that we're seeing play out today. And that's why we see it also permeate through the Orenthal James Simpson case, which is identical to this case and includes many of the same characters, not the least of which Nazi felon Mark Furman. Again, he was connected to that white nationalist order up there in northern Idaho and Operation PatCon, which connects to Waco and Oklahoma City. And not just that, through that connection, through other connections. So, but it's all the same franchise. It's all run out of the National Security Council. It's all these programs by Bill Colby. And that's why we see Bill Colby's son, Carl Colby, one of the chief witnesses for the state of California in the case against Orenthal James Simpson.
Are you ready for my answer to your answer?
Yes, sir.
I would argue that one word. My answer is the machine.
Yup.
Does that make sense? It does. You track it on that?
It is. Right? No, it is a machine. That's what I'm saying. It's an ongoing franchise.
There's nobody running the machine. The machine is like a precursor to AI. It runs itself. It sucks in the I would call them soldiers, or you could call them actors. You could call them what you want, but they're just putting in the wet work when it needs to be done and getting out as soon as they can, because it's a dirty business and nobody talks about it.
It is a machine. It is a machine. Yes, sir. It is a machine. But I would argue there is a man pulling those puppet strings.
Well, I guess you'd say at all times there's somebody that's the head honcho in charge, but really he's also a victim of the same thing.
100%. And if we can go back to my image for a second, I'll make that point for you real quick. We can move on to another subject if you'd like, or do whatever you got to do. But I think we're right on. What we're dealing with here is an element of a machine that's existed in this country for a very long time. It's very Nazi-oriented, very Nazi-related. All these things can only be achieved through the National Security Act of 1947. It's a Nazi-oriented piece of legislation here in this country that eradicated free speech. The First Amendment died the day the National Security Act 1947 was signed, and as it gave authorization for a small team of individuals, including this man right here, hugging up on shirtless Yayo Bob, and Lord of mercy, I don't want to know what they were doing before and after this photograph, but Henry Kissinger and a small team of other folks, including the guy with his arm up Kissinger's butt, making his mouth move, Nelson Rockefeller, left a small team of folks to sign, 3 people can stamp it, national security, and we'll never know anything about it. And if you want to know the problem right there, it's that guy right there, Henry Kissinger.
And Yayo Bob Evans.
Vice President of Henry Kissinger and Associates. I'm about to swing this right back around and slam
You're
right
cutting out. I'm just to let you know.
Can you hear me?
I think you were having a little weather. I saw your screen blowing.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes, sir.
So, outside of Kissinger and Nelson Rockefeller, who Nelson Rockefeller, let's note, almost became U.S. president in 1975, unelected, September of 1975. 2 different Manson girls of the Charles Manson family attempted to murder Gerald. They tried to murk Gerald Ford in California. 2 different incidents, 3 weeks apart in September of 75. Right? Gerald Ford would fire everybody after this. All of his cabinet, CIA folks, etc. It didn't work out well for him, but nonetheless, he tried. But had those Manson girls been successful, Nelson Rockefeller would have been president. He's one of those people stamping things national security here in these matters. So
Wow.
he's also one of the people that helped smuggle in all these Nazis to America during Project Paperclip era. So you see the connections I'm describing here with folks like Gavin Newsom.
I think I see the
they knew
trail
each
you're
other.
headed down now.
Well, and let me bring it into this swinging close for you. Henry Kissinger's right-hand man through all these operations and still living today was named Brent Scowcroft. He was the national security advisor to two different U.S. presidents, Nixon after Kissinger got fired, and George Bush #1. Right? He was also Kissinger and Associates, the corporation that Kissinger ran during these multiple decades. He's working in government. He was the vice president of Kissinger and Associates. Brent Scowcroft would employ a fellow by the name of J.J. Brine, not this J.J., different J.J. J.J. Brine as his personal assistant during the early 2000s. J.J. Brine would depart that post, start a Process Church offshoot called Victorianism with the Process Church logo. Charles Manson was a major figure in the scene, et cetera, et cetera. And he does this after working for Kissinger's right-hand man, Brent Scowcroft. So why is it that Kissinger and Scowcroft are connected to elements of the Process Church 40 years apart? I would say that's because this is being run out of the National Security Council in which those two men operated. Oh, my bad. My mistake. I had one more piece of information there. J.J. Brine, I would argue Dan Snyder had a lot to do with the downfall of Amanda Bynes. I would also argue it's not separate, but it's in the same conversation. Amanda Bynes' best friend was J.J. Brine, the head of this neo-process cult.
Okay. That's a lot of information, JJ. I assume that people are gonna, future generations are gonna play these lives that we do, like national anthems. There'll be songs written about us. There'll be entire countries based on our theories here.
Let's hope that doesn't happen for the sake of humanity. But what may I unpack there for you as far as you asked me where all of this stuff's being run out of, and I think it's being run out of elements of the National Security Council, as seen with Oliver North, through the Fort Bragg operations, as we continue to point out with this case, and the elements of 20th Special Forces Group, which seems to permeate through these Fort Bragg operations. That's how they operate on U.S. soil through the National Guard component.
Okay, so one point I'd like to make is that that kind of paints the bigger picture. Is for whatever reason there is a very high concentration of not only these people but of these activities, specifically in that Pacific Northwest, heavily including Idaho, but not just alone Idaho, also Montana, Washington State, Utah, Nevada. But it does seem to be the heaviest concentration of these extreme right movements that operate freely.
For sure. And like I said, Mark Furman's friends documented in the LAPD internal affairs report are this group known as the Order, which has hatched numerous, on a 10-year anniversaries, they hatched these domestic terror campaigns. I mean, they robbed, I think it was 240 banks, and between these two, just two different, the 80s and the 90s campaigns. You know, these people are connected to, again, Ruby Ridge, Waco, Oklahoma City, all right?
Yeah, no, so what I'm saying is that when people are like, how is this an issue of national security? Like you so famously quote Steve G saying, it's because at least someone is, what would you think? That's either this is totally just a completely fabricated situation, or it's the narrative that they spun and it's a result of normal activities in that area.
All of those.
It's all of those, huh? Because the event may have happened may or may not have happened, and then you had more than likely some type of player involved, and then a narrative was spun, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, literally, right?
That is correct, sir. And if I may quote Ronald Reagan, CIA director, the guy that replaced. No, it was Bush. Yeah, it was Bush. Then another guy. So it was Bill Colby, that guy I said before, who created all these. He invented all these disasters of Project, Phoenix program, assassins, the serial killers, and when I say serial killers, like it's documented. Like Richard Ramirez, for example, his cousin, who he lived with, was actually served in the Phoenix program. So under Bill Colby, and again, Phoenix program is the character Mel Gibson plays in Lethal Weapon. Him and Gary Busey's character in that film are both members of that program, right?
The Order.
No, the Phoenix program from Vietnam, right? That's
when you say the Order. What define what the Order is? Is it a military, paramilitary?
Yeah. So yeah. Let me circle right back to that. So, the Order is this in 1983, I guess it was. A group of individuals, it was identified in the FBI record as 9 individuals, like these Nazi fellows, met up in Hayden Lake, a compound in Hayden Lake, again, which is closer to Rathdrum than Pullman is to Moscow, right? And Mark Furman lives up there today. So Mark Furman was identified by the LAPD law enforcement as being connected to this group in their own internal affairs investigation. But this group in 1983 hatched a plan out of Hayden Lake to rob a bunch of banks, murder a bunch of folks, raise a bunch of money to take down the U.S. government. They right-wing extremists who wanted to influence. So when I say that with this caveat and asterisk. Much like we see in our modern day situations like the Gretchen Whitmer, Michigan kidnapping nonsense with the FBI, where like 21 out of the 23 people involved were either FBI agents undercover or paid informants. It's the same deal here. So we see the same things repeating around these things as far as the orchestration of these events. Nonetheless, people died, banks were robbed, et cetera, et cetera. One of those people that was murdered in 1984 was Alec Berg. He was a radio talk show host in Denver, Colorado. The 10-year anniversary of his murder allegedly was the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson by the same group, hatched out of the same compound up in northern Idaho, according to investigatory documents. The Ruby Ridge guy was part of that same group. He was also a Fort Bragg guy out of that same material assistance command group. So you see these connections I'm drawing here with these groups.
I'm making the connections, and you throw out you have so much information to put out. You throw out so many names that it makes everybody's head spin. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to pull the red vines and the Twizzlers all into one tight rope.
I'm here to unpack and answer any of those questions you see necessary, sir.
No, I'm tracking so far. Keep going, but you did say you had something else you wanted to discuss also as well? Some type of new information or due to the new information.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to read this quote real quick from Bill Casey. So he was Reagan's CIA director from 81 to 87. When the Iran-Contra hearings were going on in 87, he was got to testify, and suddenly he died. So, one of those deals, right? He was an old man, but he suddenly dies the day before he's supposed to testify. Go figure.
Oops.
But he says in 1981, when he starts as the CIA director for Reagan, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. That's a documented quote from Bill Casey.
And that's come to fruition for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you and I, that's our lifetimes here, bud. So, I mean, I think you can agree that with me that probably that we've seen that come to fruition, right? Through all these events, right? Looking back, the way Iran-Contra was spun, right? Talk about disinformation campaigns.
You know what's so crazy about it, JJ, is that they're so good at it that the deeper you dig, the more lost you are. In this case, like Lucy Morningstar was saying the other day, there's no bottom to it. No matter how you peel it apart. She didn't say any of this. I forgot what she said.
May I assist you with that precise conundrum?
Yes.
It's called It's called Psyops the Mind War. It's literally Michael Aquino's version of psychological operations mashed together with Aleister Crowley magic. And he wrote this manual at the JFK School of Special Warfare at Fort Bragg Special Forces. He's a Green Beret. Before he retired, he was also the official chaplain for the Church of, or for the Satanic chaplain for the U.S. Army.
Okay, see there you've dropped something that's completely new to me. They have that? That's a thing?
Yeah, well, they did. He's dead now. He died a mysterious death about 2 years ago, and it wasn't announced until a year after he died that he allegedly shot himself.
When you talk about the movie Stripes and the army and people being in the army, you don't hear a lot about
that was a good movie, dude. In the army
chaplains.
that was a good movie. If I may just interrupt you, Hitler style. In the army with Pauly Shore and Andy Dick. That was a good one.
How dare you, sir? You cannot compare that movie to Stripes, the absolute classic with the guy from Night Court in it, and you had a fine set of bathing beauties in that movie.
Dude, I will admit it. I don't agree with the man's existence in life, but I am a Pauly Shore fan.
His parents owned the Comedy Store, so he used to come to La Jolla, where I lived, and I guess throw parties. I never attended any of his parties, but he'd be like, "Yeah, Deweese, I'm Deweese," and he'd have this like group of followers. But he's so LA now that he didn't really kind of fit coming back to town like that. You know, he had his little group of friends. Anyway. It's not like that.
If you think about it, every comedian you've seen in a Hollywood film, every quote-unquote A-list comedian was greenlit by his parents.
They were the trial ground there at the Comedy Store, huh?
Yep, they were the gatekeepers of the Comedy Store. That's correct, sir.
Stressful job, but they sure brought them all up, didn't they? Yeah, because it's weird the musicians and comedians that came through San Diego. Just in the 10 years that I was living there at that time, you know, you had so many. And I'm sure Sam Kinison, Roger Daltrey.
I'm glad you said that name. So Sam Kinison's, I think it's his third
Pete
cousin.
Townsend, Eddie Van Halen. He was a comedian.
Sam Kinison?
Sam Kinison also.
Yeah, his cousin literally plays into the Ruby Ridge situation. He's the neighbor to Randy Weaver in Ruby Ridge.
Who's the cousin?
Sam Kinison's third cousin.
Oh, I've heard that before, yeah.
And let me tell you a different story about Sam Kinison, if I may. So,
okay.
A number of years back, it's not a long one, but a number of years back, I did get an interesting email from a guy I did confirm was Sam Kinison's first cousin once removed. I'm sorry, second cousin. Sam Kinison's dad and this dude's dad were first cousins Kinison. Or we're first cousins.
Is there an ex-girlfriend story in this?
Yeah, well, so this dude wrote me an email saying that he thought Sam Kinison faked his death and was living as some other dude who's a kind of a public figure. And I was like, no shit. And I confirmed that he was Sam Kinison's cousin, so I took him somewhat legitimately seriously. So it's weird when I discovered Sam Kinison's got another cousin involved in the fucking, Ruby Ridge situation, which I recently just discovered.
Yeah, I mean, you can't deny that it's got a pipeline going through it with people and with substances. And
I look at the Comedy Store kind of like weird scenes inside the Comedy Store, right? You know, weird scenes inside the Laurel Canyon by Dave McGowan.
Oh, it wasn't luxury by any means over there at the Comedy Store.
Well, I mean to the effect that they're gatekeepers, right? And there's this whole military-industrial spook backgrounds to all these actors and musicians from Laurel Canyon, right?
Sure.
The same thing goes for the Comedy Store, in my opinion. The folks that go through there that are made names, right?
You really had to pay your dues. You had to stick it out. I mean, it was no frills, believe me.
Did you?
Me?
Or did you sign up for a program? You see what I'm saying?
I see. Yeah.
Just like John Phillips signed up for a program
just
when
like
he was in
the Church of Scientology, where you sign up, and then what you don't realize is now you belong to them. talk about joining the army now.
Well, that's certainly part of it, right? But you know, like
you go to
John
bed
Phillips,
at 8 o'clock whether you like it or not.
Is that a rule? I don't want to do that.
The Scientologists
John,
you don't see them on the street past 9 o'clock.
That's true. They do have a regimented schedule. Do you know John Phillips, the Mamas and the Papas guy I was saying was on the INS report, Funding the Process Church?
Yes.
Right? Well, would you believe he was a no-talented musician who was a Naval Academy student who just suddenly erupted as the fucking one of the biggest stars of, the burgeoning hippie rock scene?
Okay.
Strangely enough, he seems to have also attended the Naval Academy with Doug Wilson's dad. That's a story of a different color, or horse of a different color. Story for a different day. But my point being is, Phillips's father was a career Marine Corps officer. Everyone in the Laurel Canyon scene has these backgrounds. They were not talented musicians. They were not talented actors and actresses. They just happen to have the right backgrounds. Again, that music we hear is Phil Spector in the Wrecking Crew, right? It's not David Van Cortlandt Van Rensselaer Crosby or whatever he is, who's from the founding families of New York, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, all of those albums, all of the albums we love, the Beach Boys, all of those, they sound so great because they were recorded by other people.
Yeah. And Stephen Stills, dude, that's again the founding band members of these bands and the foundation of this Laurel Canyon music and hippie scene. These guys didn't play music. They weren't talented. That's not why they were selected. So Stephen Stills, he creeped a lot of folks out. So his father was an ambassador over in the Pacific, South Pacific, in the early onset of the Vietnam conflict, if you will, circa 1960, because the Dulles brothers set up this organization there in the 1950s that 55, I believe, that started stoking that war, right? And Stephen Stills' father was part of that U.S. State Department program, and apparently, according to Stephen Stills' stories, going throughout the Hollywood Canyon in the late 60s, creeping folks out by describing how he was a commando in places like Laos in 1960. And folks thought he was making shit up, but when you put it into perspective, that's his father was over there doing weird shit that stoked the war. So what's he doing? Sounds like weird shit that stoked the war. So Stephen Stills, not a guitarist, but a commando, perhaps.
That's pretty wild. Not to get too far off track, though.
Let's do it. Let's get far up track.
Let's get back to a more diabetic discussion of the Idaho4.
Let's do that. If you don't mind, can we bring this in for a close in the landing here on the last subject?
Sure. Yeah. What do you got?
No, what do you got? Your subject, not my subject.
Oh, no, you had new information. I thought, did you cover it all?
Breaking news.
Breaking news here on The Purge. JJ Vance.
Yeah, well, I think we did because you asked me that question, and I think that's what we're looking at again.
That's what, yeah, okay. I had a couple things that popped into my head during it, but I don't know. Bring it to you, to your close.
Let me qualify
first.
one of those statements, if I may. Qualify one of those statements, if I may. So when I say that the whole Idaho, plotting these domestic terror campaigns in '84 and '94, and how the Simpson murders are into that situation and whatnot, and how the tail end of that gets the Simpson murders out of the news is the Oklahoma City bombing, and how that's all connected to the same people. So back to Ruby Ridge. So Ruby Ridge, the guy who negotiates the Randy Weaver, this Fort Bragg Army guy, to turn himself in, who's connected to that white nationalist compound of the order, right? Randy Weaver is the guy that gets him to turn himself in is Lieutenant Colonel Special Forces Green Beret Bo Gritz. Bo Gritz is listed as an undercover agent in the Operation PatCon FBI documents for infiltrating the elements around Timothy McVeigh, Elohim City, and the incidents and circumstances surrounding Waco and Oklahoma City bombing. So I would actually argue Timothy McVeigh is the other Special Forces Green Beret guy listed in those same documents. Bo Gritz is listed as the retired one. They have an active Special Forces guy out of that 20th Special Forces group of the National Guard operating through Fort Bragg listed in those documents. I would argue that's Timothy McVeigh. So when I say that all of these things are connected, these are the connecting principles through that white nationalist compound and all these spooky activities, right?
Damn, I just had a great thought and I lost it again. I must be working too hard. Okay, say what you were saying before. Okay, so we're wrapping the connection. Okay, so here's where I was. What the overall glum outlook for the future of this gentleman here is? You have forces that A, control the media, obviously. Have done these exact procedures time and time again for decades. These are the powers that be that are controlling this narrative. So, and not only they control the media, they also are controlling the judicial system, and they are ready, willing, and able to push this thing through without even a speed bump glitch.
Yes, sir. They've done it before. They'll do it again.
And so, when you control the media, when you control the narrative, you are able to do things that are outside of the Constitution, really, and make it look like, oh, well, that was just he was just trying to plead a technicality. Look, he's already trying to get out of the DP, and
that's a great point. Let's ruminate on that point for a moment, if we will. So you're saying, again, there is no Constitution, right? That's what you just said. So the National Security Act of 1947, I would argue, eradicated more than just the freedom of speech, but most certainly the freedom of speech. But it is the idea that we can stamp things national security, can do whatever the fuck they want to do, and no one has to find out about it. And that's as a result of that one piece of legislation, right?
In so many words. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you have them more than ready and willing, and they will keep bringing. So, say Hurwitz isn't the magic bullet to perpetuate, because what we...
I'm glad you brought him up. Please continue.
They will continue to pull from the ranks, so to speak, and they will also double down on the myths and creative fairy tales and lies. That's why I keep bringing up the stalking thing, which they openly admitted in court was a lie. That's literally saying, yeah, we lied, and you knew that. And then they had tried to take the position that it was the guy's fault that they lied. And
yeah, if I may add two things to emphasize your points there. Hurwitz comes from, as I said, he was a bagman for Eric Holder's law firm out there in D.C. Well, Holder's so deep in all that PACON stuff, it's unruly. But on the other note of what you're describing there is I got lost in Hurwitz for a second. What else were you describing? Schindler's List, fantastic comic book. I really enjoyed the ending. I didn't think they were going to find the list. They found the list. I was excited.
I was muted, and everybody knew what I was going to say. No, it's so clear. It's like literally right now, my muddy brain had just got enough a flush of fresh water, and Hurwitz came pouring out. And
well, let me flush some more stuff in your brain hole, sir. So,
well, I was talking. When you asked me a question, you asked me what I was talking about. I was talking about how Thompson said that they were lying, and then even though they admitted that they were lying, they perpetuated the same lie and doubled down on it.
There you go, and that was my point. There you go. I remembered at the same time you did. Here we go. So, and wait, there it is. There, I remember now. Chuck Hayes is his name. So every time that he fought back for his rights, retired U.S. Air Force colonel, he was selling the Promise software around. This is part of the Iran-Contra scandal. This backdoor software they were selling around these U.S. intelligence network that we're describing, the shady intelligence network. The author Danny Casolaro called the Octopus. These folks were selling the Promise software, this prosecutor management information system, this early AI software, which I would argue, again, Ann Taylor made a public statement about a similar software. In this case, I would argue there's a similar circumstance going on with the unlawful use of said software in this case as well. But they did a lot of criminal shit with that software back in the late 80s and early 90s, was selling it around the world to spy on other nations' intelligence services, right? And again, it was an early AI. It was originally developed for prosecutor management for cases for prosecutors, but it was then used for other purposes, but reappropriated. But nonetheless, Chalmer Hayes, retired U.S. Air Force colonel and secret special agent for the CIA, was selling that software down in South America. And someone turned him in and he didn't like about it when he came back into the country with some jewels that he had got for the sale of that software. He got busted smuggling in jewels. He didn't like it. He decided to fight back. And long story short, he finds himself in fighting back against this enterprise of this kind of deep state octopus element, these folks from the National Security Council that are running these hood rat shit operations that he was seemingly employed by, but maybe didn't know the full scale of which. He fought back for his rights when they put a case on him, right? For the hit on his son. The FBI called him up on the phone and said, hey, you want somebody to murder your son? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'll give you $25. And they're like, deal. Literally $25. They charge him for this in the Chicago, Northern District of Chicago federal court.
And JJ's down. JJ down. You're
doubling down. They're escalating, right?
You're good now.
They're, as you're saying, they're doubling down. They're escalating. They're doing the same thing to Chuck Hayes. Can you hear me?
Did you hit the mute button by any chance? We see your mouth. We see you. I just don't hear you.
Oh, weird. Let me jump back in. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were getting murked, I think.
Yeah.
Somebody else tried to clone you.
Long story short, this Iran-Contra guy working, probably unbeknownst to the full details, right? They're compartmentalized. He's working for that network. They hem him up for some botched up false hit job on his son. He starts fighting back. In court, he invokes his CIA number and secret CIA agent name, and they then stamp the entire thing. Case closed. National security. No one really ever found out the rest of those circumstances.
Wow, dude.
So even in the end, like if shit really hits the fan, they'll just come in and shut it all down.
That is
Chuck Hayes,
the brutal truth.
Chuck
there,
Hayes,
folks.
retired U.S. Air Force colonel, honorable service, did 19 years in prison.
And I know that people love Ann Taylor, but there is a very slight chance that she is also part of the whole operation, right?
I would argue there's a good chance that she's limited in so many capacities. She's up against a beast that she doesn't understand.
That's a more eloquent way of putting it. Thank you. All right, I think I've drained JJ. I don't know, with all the 10 shows that he's done for everybody else this week, that he has an ounce of fuel left in the cell there, man. JJ, you really...
I need a couple sidebars in me, man. You got to give me a couple sidebars, a couple hula burgers.
I got to put him in the vacuum tube and send him up to Ohio there and get you back with a glass of orange juice like the Godfather.
Gotta hydrate.
Man.
Well, I appreciate the time. I always appreciate Purge, and I always got time to join you, sir, and the fellow Purgers here at the Purge.
Amazing stuff tonight, JJ. Thank you so much for making it totally worth being live, and I hope everybody had a great time. Rage quit?
No, can I make one statement?
One more.
Besides, I enjoy my time here at the Purge. I look forward to the next Purge. And thanks, fellow Purgers, for purging with us on this Purge. Just consider, in 2013, they had a federal program where criminology students in Washington State were monitoring video camera systems in and around Pennsylvania campus. They got a considerable amount of money since then for federal grant money, which was being used for that program. So wonder what was going on in 2022, right? With that criminology program in Washington State, these camera systems, whatever federal surveillance program they were operating.
Hundreds of cameras, I'm sure, all over that campus. Some that we can see, some that we can't see. I'm quite sure of that.
And the criminology department being the ones monitoring these cameras, right?
Yes, that's the unique feature. But with Ann Taylor, what I wanted to point out was here you have a public pretender that is basically willing to stake her career on this one particular guy. and literally does so and is fighting the system that she has been a part of for the last 8 years or whatever that she's done, tooth and nail, and go
Can I offer some
fully to
insight
but
on
then
that?
when push comes to shove, I feel like it's a mouse against like Jabba the Hutt. You know what I mean?
For sure.
She's just standing there like eek eek, you know.
But can I offer some insight on the point you just
hold on, let me
made?
finish up. I feel like
I'm gonna Hitler you.
she could have the weapons to slay the beast, but she doesn't present them yet. So, like I said, we're not to trial yet. The proof is in the pudding, right? But that's all I want to say. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I think you're right. We have to wait and see the results. She's done a great job, in my opinion. She's up against a mountain of again some you know, as I made the statement before with Jim Garrison, the New Orleans district attorney, the only guy to ever bring charges against anybody relative to the JFK assassination. Also, the man who was the first investigator of the Process Church, the final judgment, because they formed in his district while he was doing that investigation into the JFK murder, and they were surrounded by and employed elements of the people he was already investigating, not the least of which an attorney by the name of, it doesn't matter his name. The attorney he was already investigating is the attorney that incorporates the Process Church in New Orleans during Garrison's investigation. But Garrison would describe the JFK assassination as this elephant, right? You know, to Johnny Carson in that clip when he goes on the Johnny Carson show, because Carson's trying to say like, well, wait a second there, Jim, you just told me the plot of the assassination to kill the president was this, and now you're saying it was this, and now you're saying it was this. And he says, well, yeah, Johnny, we're describing different elements of a larger monster machine. And that's exactly what's going on here. Like blind men touching different parts of an elephant and describing, this one's a trunk or this is a tail.
Yeah, I think you played that clip on your show, right? With a portion of it. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, and I'm a big fan of Jim Garrison. It's, I don't have a lot of heroes or mentors or anything, but I mean, I do appreciate what he did and some of the way he thought about life. But the, it is that what we're describing here, right? And one thing he says in that same interview with Garrison is he goes, you know what? Because Carson says, well, I got a letter here. You remember that letter with Joe Biden or Hunter Biden's laptop? We got 51 intelligence or former unintelligent people signed this letter. So they did the same thing with Garrison, and Carson's like, I got this letter. 30 folks from Washington D.C. signed this letter and said, that they all read the investigation reports. It was Lee Harvey Oswald, yada yada yada. This is 68. This is years later, right? When this is occurring, early 68, January 68, because RFK signs that letter for some reason as the Attorney General still. So that's weird. Anyhow, so yeah, that would have been January 68. Anyhow, so. Garrison's response is classic. He tells Carson, you know what? I don't care what men in DC sign on a piece of paper or how important they think they are. He goes on to describe how he used to be a true believer in the system. And then, one day and going into this investigation into Kennedy and seeing the results that was going on, he was no longer a true believer. So I think people like Ann Taylor are sometimes a true believer. And then they're presented with sometimes, and I can speak from experience, until you're presented with those circumstances and results within your immediate, vicinity and perspective, you can hear about it all day long. You can think it may be going on, but till you see it yourself, it doesn't really,
Yeah, as we were all believers in the American way and the history and everything. And when you start to realize that the coup happened 60, 70 years ago and things ain't what they seem, and then you start to see the bigger picture.
So I think Ann Taylor's doing a fine job. She's up against a machine that's been going on in this country a long time.
Real quick before I forget again, because I've forgotten twice, and don't mean to interrupt you, but
you do that. I'm Earl Doobie.
Let me clone you real quick, JJ.
Don't clone me, Kane.
In my track record of being right on stuff, when I feel like I see something in my gut tells me that I'm on to the right track, is when there's a peculiarity in a systematic endeavor, such as
Anomalies and protocols,
the
if you will?
public defender going to great lengths beyond just trying to get the death penalty played down, which is pretty much what I think any other public defender in the world would have done in this case. You know, you have every lawyer in the country allegedly thinking that he's guilty. For some reason, this woman decided to take a stand and fight against an insurmountable odd. And that strikes me as odd. And that, I think, would sum up my opinion overall.
I don't disagree. But you know, every once in a while, there's those Jim Garrisons in the world. That's all I'm saying.
America, we're pretty close to July 4th.
America.
We should do a show July 3rd or 5th or something, kind of July 4th show-ish.
I'll be happy to join you on that. I'll also be happy to extend you an invite to the 4th of July Fridays. I'm doing, you know, got I've invited all the occult rejects on my Friday show on the 4th of July. But
that would be a blast.
So folks are stopping in, so you can stay for 5 minutes, you can stay for the whole show, but I'll extend you the same invite, sir.
Sounds great, man. Awesome. All right, let's rage quit, shut it down. Thank you for being here, everybody. JJ, thank you for being the most amazing co-host of all time. I think maybe you're the
and also thank me for not being not the vice president.
I will thank you for that, sir. But I think that now, according to Twiz, you're the actual host of the Purge. I am just a nugget on the biscuit.
I appreciate the kind words. I would disagree. I like to call it more of an Abbott and Costello routine we do here. But here at the Purge, we like fast food news, type 2 diabetes, and rage quitting. Have a good night,
I
sir.
appreciate you answering my answer, sir. Have a great night. Good night, everybody. Thank you.